Okay, I'm starting now. Torture the data and it will confess everything. A heartfelt welcome to all the attendees. Greetings of the day. I, Siria Goel, on behalf of the Committee of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, would like to moderate the webinar on effective strategies on preventing financial fraud through cooperative approach of forensic accounting. And we have actually two topics of the webinar today, and CAs and law enforcement do's and don'ts. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the chairman of our committee, C.A. Charanjot Singh Nanda. C.A. Charanjot Singh Nanda is currently serving the post of chairman at Digital Accounting and Assurance Board and Internal Audit and Financial Accounting and Investor Protection Committee of ICAI. He's also serving the post of He's also serving the post of vice chairman in various committees of ICAI. Now, I would like to welcome Sir to address the keynote to the session.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The two rebel speakers of the day, C.A. Sameer Chaudhary, C.A. Vivek Shah, both of them hail from Ahmedabad. C.A. Richa Goel, the moderator of this session, who comes from a remote place in Punjab, Hoshiarpur. I can also see Nisarg as the tech support. The secretary to this board, C.A. Amit Gupta, and officials of DAB, and all who have come here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, you are back to yet another exciting session on forensic accounting. The topic is a very varied, very colorful, and very impressive, you can call imperative topic. The topic is strategies to combat frauds using forensic techniques. And other is law enforcement agencies and CAs and way to tackle them and do's and don'ts of the same. I want to tell you one thing very candidly. Your institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, under the aegis of DAP, is the first in the entire universe to come out with 23 forensic standards. Forensic standards have changed the way how investigation is done because largely people used to equate forensic investigation with audit. But you need to understand that RBI mandates that every forensic assignment needs to be concluded either as a fraud or non-fraud. Secondly, you can't pick up clues and give wide things in your forensic report. Every forensic report has to be essentially conclusive. Every comment you make needs to have an admissible evidence. So I want to tell you that next sessions will keep on admissible and non-admissible evidences. Because if you want the prosecution agencies to respect your report, to ensure that people who are culprit are brought to book, you need to understand the basis, genesis of the law, how you need to reproduce your reports, and more importantly, put them at a parlance where the courts or educating agencies are able to take effective cognizance of the same. We have two of the very revered speakers are not sent between you and the speakers. I'm so happy that young people now have started coming to the bandwagon. Last week, on Friday, I was in Ahmedabad. And Mr. Sameer Chaudhary is a very vibrant speaker. He said, sir, I always take sessions on forensic accounting. And then I requested, why don't Sameer you take a session with us? Vivek ji and I have been class fellows. He's very young, but both of us did our UAE wed together classes some 4 or 5 years back, 6 years back. So I want young people to come up and take a lot of participation. I want to tell you that forensic standards are made mandatory from 1st of July 2023. And for that, we are doing a lot of guidance. Anyone amongst you who wants to contribute there can personally write to me, can personally ping me, mail me. I am always there. We are very keen to have newer people who could contribute and make our initiative a successful initiative. We all need to work towards making this institute the best institute in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, for that, our technical impetus, our thought process is very important. There is a couplet which says, "Ghar khairat mein milti kamyabi to har shakhs kamyab hota. गर खैरात में मिलती कामयाबी तो हर शख्स कामयाब होता, फिर कदर ना होती किसी हुनर की और ना ही कोई शख्स लाजवाब होता." If you want to become outstanding, if you want to cross the wall, you need to have the strict valor of performance Competence is the banned word. So, ladies and gentlemen, become competent. Use newer flavors for your practice, and you'll see the entire world is under your feet. These two young speakers will take you through the entire strategies how to combat financial frauds, and more importantly, when it comes to interaction, because whenever you give a report, normally CBI will call you for discussions on the report and will call you as the CRP under CRPC as a witness. So, how to deal with them, what are the do's and don'ts, and how to put across and how to explain your report. So, report has to be precise. And more importantly, we should have a disclaimer that it can be only used by our client who has engaged you rather than the entire world using it. Let me now call upon the two speakers to take things forward. Ria Goel, the dice is all yours now. Let's call the speakers so that they can carry us forward and take us to the writer's conclusion. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable insights. Now, I would like to introduce our Vice Chairman, CA Dhyanivas Sharma. I need to confirm whether he's there in the meeting or not.
Mr. Dea is not here. Maybe he'll come for the concluding remarks. Amit ji, Dea ji is there? He is not there. Ria ji, you can introduce the speakers.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I would introduce our today's presenter, CS Sameer Chaudhary from Ahmedabad, a chartered accountant not only with the qualification of FCA but also MCOM, LLB, DSA, Diploma in Cybersecurity, and the many more certified courses by our ICAI, like on CSR, concurrent audit of banks, and like there's so many qualification of him, I can't name it in this seminar. So now I would like to welcome sir and welcome Sameer sir.
Please unmute yourself. Sameer ji,
Is it audible now?
very much.
First of all, thank you from the bottom of my heart to Charan Chod Singh Nanda sir, जिसको हम CS नंदा बोलते हैं हमेशा सर को, and उनकी शायरियों से हम हमेशा दीवाने रहते हैं, and a person to whom I admire always in a speaking because the way he delivers the speech is phenomenal. Also in absentia, Dhyanivas Sharma sir, my colleague Vivek sir, CA Ria Goel ma'am, Amit Gupta ji, and whole committee. Friends, when we are talking about this thing, let me share my screen. When the topic for today is effective strategies for preventing financial fraud to collaborative approach of forensic accounting. Friends, first of all, our query comes that what is this forensic accounting? And we are using the word accounting and not auditing. You can say our course is even FAFD, forensic accounting and fraud detection, and not auditing, because even a notification has been passed by ICAI where the clarification has been made that it is not an auditing but accounting. Friends, what's a difference between accounting and auditing, and why the word forensic came? It has a long history where in the 1940s, the concept of forensic accounting came into picture, where the US officer have bring this concept of forensic accounting. But in simple language, when we're talking about some investigation part, and which can be presented in the court of law, that we can say as a forensic accounting. In simple language, it is an examination and evaluation of individual or company's financial information for use in the as an evidence in the court of law. When we are talking about financial information, it makes an impact, friends, because here we are talking about forensic. Forensic has the many limbs, like forensic science, and many more limbs are there on that part. But being an accounting personnel, we always say that we are chartered accountant, and we have this priority to work on forensic accounting. And as sir informed that even ICI is the first in the whole universe to launch the FAIS, and there are 23 FAIS which is going to be applicable from 1st of July of this year. Friends, when you're talking about this thing, forensic accounting makes an impact because our auditing standard says that chartered accountants are a watchdog and not a bloodhound. But when we're talking that statutory auditor has only that much of work, but somewhere the corporates, the governments, expect us now to be a bloodhound, because we know that many times during our statutory audit, final audits, we are doing a post-mortem work only. The incident have already have taken place, and then we are focusing on the documents and evidence available with us. But then also they expect much more from us. So if we are equipped with much more knowledge, much more tools, and much more information on that part, it is going to help us. And the same is the topic for today. Friends, when we're talking on this part, what is the difference in forensic accounting and normal audits? Friends, in simple language, in normal audits, we are conducted in order to provide an opinion, which we always say that it is true and fair view on the given financial data of the company. The report of such audits are generally not used as an evidence in the court of law. We can put as a secondary documents over there, but it is normally don't keep as a primary documents over there. And we are keeping that thing in various departments. If it's for GST audit, we are keeping on that part. That is there, friends. But when you're talking about forensic accounting, it is a detailed examination and depth investigation and evaluation of individuals or a company's financial information for use as a evidence in a court of law, which can even be used as a primary document instead of, I would say you, instead of secondary documents. It can be even used as a primary documents. So whenever you have in your mind about the forensic accounting, first thing which can be click in your mind is a detailed investigation or evaluation, and which can be used in the court of law. So it will be easy for you to understand, friends. Let's check in a simplest manner is the forensic accounting investigation. First is a discover of something, and how we can discover that thing with the help of red flag. What is this red flag, friends? Red flag is something alarming of something. If you have watched the famous serial in Sony TV, which is CID, where Commissioner Pradyuman always says to Daya, Daya, kuch to hai. And when such a mindset comes in your mind by looking at some incident, and your mind puts an alarm ki kuch to hai, that is called a red flag, friends. Means some alarm or some significance is shown to you, which is a red flag. When we're talking about discover, finding evidence of a financial crimes, and we know in today's arena, since the technology has increased and all the facilities have really increased in various ways, even the many type of crimes have increased manifold. Do you know, friends, the first financial frauds which have happened after our independence is something of lakhs only. Let's say 40 or 50 lakhs only. Nowadays, if you're talking about the same thing, ABDG CPI fraud was more than 20,000 crores, friends. So can, if you're even keeping a CAGR, you will unable to manage that thing. And as the amount of frauds have increased, the same thing is required for having a high-tech technologies, high-tech tools, and even a proper strategy with us to combat the same. After having a discovery of the our financial crime evidence, let's have analysis of that, which can be as a determining what was done and how. We can keep a image in our mind. We can look at the same with a different angle, that what may have happened and what is that on that part. And the most important thing, to have a conclusion of that by preparing a report, which is a laying out the case of the for the authorities on that part. And then they are the final people to judge on that. Friends, talking about the same, let's have that where the forensic accounting is going to help us in detecting. First, tax evasion. You know, there are three types of tax planning. One is tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. And tax evasion is something like that, which is, I would say, hated by the government, and where you will not going to have any kind of relaxation on that part. When we're talking about that thing, in case of tax evasion, forensic accounting helps always. Identity theft, you know, cyber crime, which is one of the major thing in today's arena. And in case of identity theft, if any fraud has taken place, we can help with the help of forensic accounting. Frauds in insurance claims, it is one of the major arena. I met some officer in NFSU, and he was telling that people are not focusing on insurance claim, and especially a mediclaim insurance, where there are many types of chances where fraud is taking place. So even they were intend to have some analysis on that part, friends. Financial frauds, we are dealing with the finance always, And we know that there are various ways to have financial frauds. We're going to discuss on that part even today. Embezzlement of fund on that part, there can be organized crime or a money laundering. And we know that how serious a money laundering or Benami Act is in today's era. Terror financing, if there, it is a serious offense, and forensic accounting always helps over there. Where is there is a hidden assets during divorce proceedings, or not only hidden assets, any types of where there is a money is involved on that part, forensic accounting helps over there. If anyone has any product liability claim, securities fraud is there. We have seen a numerous types of securities frauds which are taking place, friends. Fraud in a financial reporting. There are various kinds of financial reporting, friends, which is we know the financial scam saga, that is Satyam case study, which I would say which gave the much more popularity to forensic accounting after that, and even assisting in legal proceedings. So these are the few of the arenas where forensic accounting helps in detecting a frauds. Now, friends, a point comes in our mind. What is fraud? You can see an image where a person is having some bag where you can see a dollar is kept over there. Means a person can relate that there can be a money. And in front, there is a light. In the back, there is a dark. So this image signifies many things. And being a forensic accountant, we should have that capability that we should see both the way of the angles, and we obviously have to check from multiple angles, friends. So here fraud refers to an intentional act. If the act is not intentional and it is by mistake, it can be done. It is always said in Hindi, manusya matra bhul ke patra. If it is done by mistake, the person can be left out. But if it is not by mistake and intentional act is there, it is really a serious concern for them. It can be by a single person or multiple individuals. It can be among management, those charged with the governance or authority, employee of the company, or third party, which are involving by the use of deception, the most important thing, friends, to obtain an unjust or illegal advantage. If it is not an advantage, it is not going to be said that nah, someone had did some cheating or something like that. Because if person is doing with an intentional act and deception is there, means he already have a malified intention. So obviously there can be a benefit of him or someone else. The notable points of above definition are: first, intentional act. Second, those charged with the governance. Means it is said we can have a crux of Ramayana, the mighty Ramayana, where we have learned that Ghar ka bhedi Lanka dhai. We know that Ravan may not have been killed if Lord Vibhishan have not joined Ramji and that part. So if any fraud is taking place in company, mostly the person who is charged with the governance, the management, employee, third party have taken an active interest in that thing. Deception and unjust advantage. If it is as per the law, as per the rules and regulation, it is not a fraud, friends. But if it is unjust or illegal, that is considered as a fraud. Moving further, what are the profile of a fraudster? This is only an enumerating profile, it is not fixed, but mostly you will find that this may happen with in case of fraudster. The first is, if you are looking on that part, friends, a fraud sick person generally shows the following symptoms. Most important and the first one, experiencing financial difficulties. They may are facing a financial difficulties and there is a pressure on them on that part, and so they did some wrong on that. Let's say, friends, right now we heard and we are looking that IPL is in full fledged, and many people, I would say, cricket is a second way of God in sports. आज क्रिकेट को भगवान माना जाता है, फ्रेंड्स. And if IPL is there and you are watching a advertisement of Dream 11 and where the cricketers are there as a person, as a model, I would say, and they are displaying that this time the second award is 1 crore rupees. Just think what will be the first award. And many people, and even they are giving a disclaimer at the end, just like a mutual fund, that there can be a chance of addiction and loss in this game. Why? Because that disclaimer is required. And even after listening that disclaimer, many people have joined that. Yesterday I was discussing with some person, and he was saying that there are 6 crores users in Dream 11. Just think, they are telling that if the amount, please note friends, as per their discussion, if the second price is 2 crores rupees, what can be first price? And every day, if all the active users, let's say, let me presume that active user will be only 50%, that is only 3 crores user, and each one is investing every day 100 rupees. Can you imagine what is the amount of investment over there? And just note, competitor is playing everything. And I always believe trader always loses, the patience investor and the manufacturer always gains. So if any person have played over there, and उनके मन में कोई लड्डू फूटा कि I will get my money double within 21 days or maybe 21 minutes, let Dhoni or Kohli or someone have played well and I get some award, and maybe he have won that award in 1 or 2 instances, but in long term, if he face some difficulties and he have to pay them anywhere, yes, there can be reputation loss, there can be anything on his part, he is keen to do some fraud, that can be possible. So this is one of the example of the current scenario, I would say. And please note, all the incident which I am discussing over here is fictitious. It is not having related with anything right now. So please be relaxed and chill on that part, friends. Second, usually close association with the vendors or customers. If people have a close association with any of the vendors or customers, there's a chance that they can be fraud. If other than office meeting time, they are even meeting outside the office and have a very close relationship, they have a normal chit chat or call on a regular basis, there can be chances of that. Or if my office team is getting some loan or some extra advantage from them, you can relate the same with the bankers and many times many officers over there. If person have excessive work pressure, you can see a marketing business, you can see insurance where there is a excessive work pressure is there. Marta kya nahi karta. So at that time, there's a chance that fraud may take place. Control issues, or person don't have a controlling issues or unwillingness to share the duties. It is always says that there should be a maker and checker, two separate duties there. But the person who is having a fraudster profile, he will unable to share his duties with anyone. And furthermore, he's not going to take any leave. He may be sitting for overtime in the company where others are living. He may come even on Sunday. And if you are touching any documents or any data of him, he will be annoyed with that. He always complains about the pay. And he always thinks that why it is happening only with me, or if I am doing anything, it is right, it is not wrong. So there will be a different things, and may be possible that if any consulting you are giving to any client, you may have got an image of some person. That can be even possible, friends. Moving further, when we are looking at the profile of fraudsters, here is some on data collected from as per the fraudsters, which can be done as per the age of the fraudster. If you are talking about 18 to 25 years old, it is only 1%. If it's between 26 to 35, it's 14%. Highest is 36 to 45, which is 37%. Then 46 to 55, 31%. And once person get retired, that is elder than 55 years, mostly he's less keen to do any fraud, which is only 8%. But you will say that at the young age, maybe person don't have any much more mind, not much more matured. So the fraudster age between 25 is lower, friends. Let's have discuss on a famous case study of ABG shipyard. And as always, I said that if the fraud has taken place, and we have seen on the fraud that a top management has that authority to do any kind of fraud, friends. There is a fraud where, for instance, of alleged misappropriation of fund by Rishi Agrawal, the promoter of ABG shipyard officers, have announced, where the amount of fraud was 22,842 crores. Amount CBI says where 28 banks have lost in the ABG shipyard fraud. What was happened, friend? In the year where 2012, where the business of ABG shipyard was not running properly, and they have created many ships and everything, and the order have failed, and even they knows that they have Already they have many funds taken from various banks. They were even taking much more. And to combat that thing, they have started to root the fund in the various entities of their own, and even have routed through multi countries. That is, I would say, under money laundering. The 7,089 crores of ABG dues with ICICI Bank only. Size of SBI exposure to ABG was 2,925 crores, and 8.35 lakh crores Indian Bank's NPA was there as of March 2020. Rupees 1415 crores was allegedly transferred through round trip. Please note, friends, what is this round trip? Let's say there is a person called A. He shifts the money to B, B shift to C shift to D, and D again shift to A. That's a money is there, the same transaction routing and again routing in round way. That is called a round trip. Back to the company. Round tripping is circulation of money across jurisdictions, culminating in its return to the jurisdiction of origin, usually as a foreign investment. Even it happens that money is in India, it have reached to Mauritius, and from Mauritius it may route to some other countries, let's say US or Canada, and from there it is coming as a foreign investment on higher side funds. Every period invested in as such $43.5 million. That is in Indian rupees, it is 326 crores worth of securities of ABG Singapore, which is their related party, I would say. As per the EY's forensic audit, the money may have been siphoned out of the system on that part. And even ABG CPR have transferred rupees 83 crores to their related firms. But the assets were allegedly not shown on part of the company's asset pool. And even under restructuring, lenders set up a trust and retention account. The money coming into the company during the period is held in the TRA, so the lenders can monitor its use. The SBI says over 50% of ABG CPR's receipt had been outside the arrangement. A breach of the restructuring agreement was there. And so, friends, you can imagine that having an amount of 22,842 crores is a bigger amount. India's biggest accounting scam of that time, that is Satyam scam 2009. You must be knowing this gentleman. Who is? May I know the name of this gentleman, friends? That is Ramalinga Raju. And from this, I would say, after this scam in the year 2009, the value of forensic account, the concept of forensic accounting has taken much more, I would say, focus. What happened in nutshell, since now we have a positive of time, friends? What happened at that time? The founder and chairman of Satyam Computers, B. Ramalinga Raju, have created false invoices to show inflated sales, which artificially inflated the receivable account. They were inflating the company's revenues. Mr. Raju forged board of directors resolutions. Mr. Raju saved money in offshore accounts and tax havens and rerouted it back to India for his own use. That I would say as a money laundering, friends. Mr. Raju and others on the inside offloaded worthless stock and participated in insider trading. Anyone knows that where the money have been shifted from this company? He has a company named Satyam, Satyam. And where the other money have been shifted, friends, if anyone knows, you will find, friends, that this money have been shifted from Satyam to Metas, means reverse of Satyam, that is MAYTS, and the holding, the major holding was of his son, means Ramalinga Raju's son, and where the money has been shifted. Even the statutory audit of Satyam, that is PwC India, was found at that time guilty, and it was the first instance where the any big four or any company have been found guilty in such a scam. Even disclosed on Jan 7, 2009, it was the biggest accounting fraud, which was amounting to over rupees 7,000 crores in the country, which ran almost 14 years. Can you imagine this, friends? Means since 1995, this scam was running as per the news, and it is equal to Rama and Ramnas of Ramji, and gaining recognition to the forensic accounting as the profession. Satyam share price, which was 544 at the previous height, has come down to 11.5 rupees. And now we know the all the stories that then Mahindra have taken it and all the stuff. So this was one of the study, friends. When we are talking about the same, let's know about the forensic theory. That if we want to create any kind of strategy, any effective strategy or something like that, what things we have to know? Friends, the most important thing. is a fraud triangle. If we discuss about forensic accounting, these three effect must comes into picture, friends, because these all three are interrelated elements that assist the commission of a fraud. First is a pressure or a motive. A person, let me tell you that now I have just given an example of Dream 11. It is just for example, I have told you, friends, if someone is playing in that thing and he have lost a huge money on that, so there is a pressure on that part. So to relax that pressure, release that pressure, he may conduct some fraud. There can be an opportunity. I have told you that there should be a maker and checker. Let's say in some company there is some cashier who have to deal with 50 lakh to 1 crores of cash every day, and the owner is out of town, and he's not checking from last 6 months any amount of any business transactions. What will happen, friends? Can you imagine that? There may be something that he will think कि मन में लड्डू फूटा, and he what that thing he has that opportunity, and he may try to crack that thing. So if a person has an ability to carry out the fraud, he may do that. And the last and the most important, rationalization, that is justification of dishonest intention. Person already always have a justification of doing something wrong. Let's say if there is some employee in a company who is working since last 20 years with some owner, and he is just a 12th pass, and with that 12th pass, that employee, he came to work with that company in a 1000 rupees per month, and now the company have increased his income to 40,000 rupees per month. So can we imagine this, from 1000 to 40,000 within 25 years? And he's just a 12th pass HSC pass, and he's having a major work criteria, means I would say he's working as a senior manager of accounts in a company. But since company is facing a loss, and that company owners or management may change, or company owner think that now he's unable to compete now with current scenarios after GST, they have brought some new freebies CA who have just cleared CA, and we know our almighty ICA that our basic package now for CA qualified is at least 9 lakh rupees, and he got a job of 12 lakh rupees over there. That is 1 lakh rupees 1 month. And now that CA is taking all the reporting of that guy who is working over there from last 20 or 25 years. What happened at that time? That person have a thinking that I have served for more than 25 years. I have increased the working of the company, and this new CA, a new professor has come on my head and working on that part. I have given whole of my life to my owner. And what he's doing? And with that thing, since he was knowing everything, he started to create some fraud or something like that. That what I'm doing is right, because I should even get 1 lakh rupees per month, but only I'm getting 45,000, let's, or 40,000, let's say. Where is my 60,000? I'm getting that. And we know that many businessmen is saving tax on any part. Even owner is saving in a yearly basis 1 crore rupees. At least I should save 2 lakh rupees from the business. Anyway, I'm taking my own slice of income on that part. I'm saving on that part. Even promoters are doing, even I am doing, nothing wrong in that. If such a person have such a justification with a dishonest intention, it's a rationalization, and which is an important pillar in fraud triangle, friends. Have you watched the movie Scam 1992? Just remember the friend of Harshad Mehta. I'm not going into a debate that whether what people thinks that whether Harshad Mehta was a scapegoat or a fraudster or a culprit, because all the rules and regulations was not at point over at that time. That is not a point of discussion today right now. But I have a doubt that you can see that the close friend of Harshad Mehta, where he have had a meeting, if anyone have watched that web series, because it was very much famous during COVID time, where he was approaching his friend and telling that nah, I want to win the world. I win 100 special friends of mine who can work, and he have helped him. And at the end, he have manipulated about the shares of company. Mostly it's a feedback only, where he have committed some fraud. And at the end he says कि मैंने पूरी जिंदगी तेरे लिए दे दी, but तुमने क्या किया, मुझे तो नौकरी दी. So that rationalization comes into picture, friends. Fraud triangle, three parts we have already discussed: opportunity, something special, rationalization, or a financial pressure on person. People were learning about fraud triangle. Then there were two-person, an expert, that is Wolf and Hermanson. They brought something more in the year 2004. They say we have faith on fraud triangle, all these three categories, but one more they have added in that. That is a capability, and that's a fact thing. Friends, let's assume there is some lower class of person in my office, or let's say a cashier of a low category, which has an authority to approve a bill payment of 500 rupees in a day maximum, and he can maximum approve only one bill. If it is more than that, he have to approach his senior on that part. And in a company, he is approving that thing. And let's say he is conducting some fraud. And in 365 days, let's say company was working only for 300 days. So what is the capacity of him to do any kind of fraud? Maximum like 50,000 rupees. But let's discuss about the promoters, the person with a higher authority, who is having a corporate governance with them. If there is a capability, then only a bigger fraud can happen. And so I personally feel that the fraud diamond theory makes an impact with fraud triangle theory. If you have any views on that part or something, questions and even message in chat box is welcome, friends. When talking about fraud diamond, it's opportunity which impacts the environmental factors, victim characteristics are there, motivation for them, that is the financial pressure I have told, monetary gain, achievement, manipulation, and even I would say in this pressure, I would add addiction of various things will be added in that. Rationalization, that is belief that violating rules is acceptable. सब करते मैं भी करूंगा कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. You have watched a various old movies where the gangster was earning money from people and serving the poor, which is a wrong actually, but they think as a rationalization, lack of respect for others, and the most important in fraud diamond is capability. That is knowledge about corporate governance, ability to manipulate others, technical knowledge to steal victim identities or exploit software weaknesses. They can be anything, friends. If person is a capable person, he can handle much more frauds. If it is not having that capacity, fraudster or fraud amount or quantum will be lower. What are the types of financial frauds? They can be fraudulent financial reporting, and even they can be misappropriation of assets, which can be of goods, or I would say defalcation of cash on that part, friends. Moving further, fraudulent financial reporting can be imparted as a manipulation or falsification, including forgery or alteration. We see many times that many accountants in a company, what they used to do, they used to manipulate the accounts, they even falsify the accounts. And friends, even we have seen that they even remove many things on that part. Even they alter something which is actually a wrong thing. Maybe many professionals have faced that their client always says that, sir, if it's a reporting under section 80C and 80D, no any officer is looking on that thing, it's a CPC, and no one is asking us for documents nowadays. If in 80C there is a claim of 1,50,000 and he already actually invested only 1 lakh rupees, he says, sir, if tax is coming more, you just show it 1,50,000. We will see if it is coming at that time. It's a manipulation, I would say, or falsification of that thing. Misrepresentation or an intentional omission of something which is required to be kept over there, but they have intentionally omitted that thing, or representing something which is not to be properly represent. Means जो होता है वो दिखता है, जो दिखता है वो होता नहीं है. I would say doing a window dressing on that part. And what is window dressing? Friends, in a simplest language, I would say, you see in your right or left side, if you are in any room, you will find some window. In a layman language, I'm teaching you, friends. If it's a window and with some intent or by some mistake, that window was broken by you or your children. And since someone is coming who is going to analyze your room, and some big client is coming, you don't want to show him that window is cracked. What you will do? You will just put a beautiful curtain over there. So you have dressed that window. The same way, if there is some negativity, some loss, or something which is not required to be shown to the outer public or outer people, the management dress up the books of accounts, cook in a beautiful manner, which shows to be rosy picture to people. That is a window dressing, friends. And intentional misapplication of accounting principles. We know about the IS2, that is valuation of inventory, where normally it is said that inventory should be valued, which is I would say, recommended one in a FIFO basis. And if I'm talking about the pharma company, where there is an expiry date of a product, it must be shown as a FIFO only. But to increase the value, the management put it as a LIFO method. So the application is wrong on that part. Even when you're talking about any kind of finance friends, they people used to do some accounting principle jugglery. I had some client way back before 5 to 6 years. He was maintaining his books of accounts as a proprietorship only, but he was applying depreciation rules as per Companies Act instead of a normal depreciation act as per Income Tax Act. When he came to me, I asked when. He said that my consultant have guided me, since now the depreciation rate is lower in Companies Act. If you are applying that thing, we can have that benefit. I said, sir, that depreciation act or that rules is applicable only for corporates which are issued in MCA. So sir, jo ho gaya to ho gaya. I have got my loan. I'm happy with that. So even people to do that, friends. Fraudulent financial reporting often involves management override of controls that otherwise may appear to be operating effectively. Means always, no friends, there are always the two side of a coin. Sometimes what we see is not actual picture, but if you are investigating and you are deep diving on that thing, you'll get much more picture much more clearly at that time, friends. And it may have overriding controls which can be helpful or which can be known by using such techniques. Let's say recording fictitious journal entries where if the incident or the event haven't taken place, but they are putting that thing, that is recording a fictitious journal entries, inappropriately adjusting assumptions or changing judgments of something, omitting, advancing, or delaying the recognition of some incident or some expenses or some income, which can be possible, friends. Let's say I have to submit my stock statement where the bank have to derive a drawing power, and I had a loan or finance funding of 500 crores, and we know in cash credit it is lower of drawing power limit or my loan limit, whichever is lower, and I have to make some payment to someone. The outstanding in my bank account is 450 crores instead of 500 crores, and at the end of the March I have to make it that I have to make some payment to some vendor which is 50 crores and which is important for me. In the month of Feb, when I am submitting my drawing power limit, my stock was, let's say, 500 crores. My creditors outstanding was 300 crores and my margin was 25%. So my paid stock after removing my margin is 150 crores. And even the same way, my debtors was standing as, let's say, 300 crores. And my margin was 50%. Let's assume that. So my drawing power limit is 150 crores for paid stock after removing a margin. Same 150 crores as a drawing limit for this thing, my debtors. So now my drawing power is only 300 crores. But I have to maintain a drawing power of 500 crores. Nothing did. They simply removed the creditors from that picture. And instead of showing a creditors with a picture of 300 crores, or let's say 200 crores, they are showing it as only 10 crores. The amount have been increased. What is this? You can see that, friends. Concealing or not disclosing the actual facts. Let's say, friends, the business owner have got some notice on 28th of March, and where there is a notice of having a demand of, let's say, 200 crores in some company from income tax. They are required to disclose that figure at least because of a contingent liability. But what they have shown that they have received the same instead of 28th March on 2nd of April. What happened? They may not show that thing and they're concealing some facts which is required to be shown. They are engaging in a complex transaction. Let's say A is purchasing from B, B is purchasing from C, and then again A is purchasing from A. Either I can say it as a round trip or some complex transaction have been created, some multiple entities have been created to misguise the people and disguise them. And even sometimes they alter the records. It can be the records of a financial entries or even the documents which is supplementary to them. Let's have an example, friends. Vinith is a manager in ZX Limited. He's having authority to sign check up to rupees 10,000. While performing the audit, what he did, the Rajan, the auditor, noted that he's always putting a check of 9,999 and not the 10,000 rupees. And why? Because that amount he was depositing in his personal account or the account which is close to them. And he misappropriated the maximum amount on that thing. He did, he was splitting the checks into lower amounts, even involves the manipulation of accounts. And such a fraud many times is committed by an employee. Misappropriation of assets, where there is a embezzlement of receipts. The money which we are getting, we are embezzling that thing. I'm going to give you some example on that part. Stealing of a physical assets or an intellectual property, that can be possible. Causing the entity to pay for the services not received by it. And the last and the most important, using entities' assets for personal purpose. We have seen many times an employee in our company, it's only a silly example, but just note where they used to use our printer and they're taking a printout, maybe for their classes or something like that. And the same way, if the employee of a company is using the entity's assets for their personal purpose, which is not tend to be there, and they're breaking the rules, that can be a misappropriation of assets. Example, friends, defalcation of cash, where they're inflating the cash payments, which is made, suppressing the cash receipts, and even casting wrong totals in cash book. We used to face this thing many times, friends. And when we telling about the inflating the cash payment or making a cash payment, we know about the slicing of the payment where many businessmen used to do for saving from section 48.3. That is, single payment or payment in a day cannot be made more than 10,000 in cash to any vendor or any supplier. So for that thing, many times they used to pay a higher amount, but lowering that amount. So that can be possible. And even the expense have not been made. They so that expense has been made to reduce their profit or creating some fraud. This is one of the technique which is called as a teaming and leading. What is there? Let's say a cashier or a finance head of my company, he have collected from customer A rupees 100. He's not recording the same in the books of accounts, and he's misappropriated that cash in his own pocket for his personal use. Whatever it may be, we're not going on that depth. What in transaction 2, he have again collected that 100 rupees from some person B, not from A. That A he have misappropriated already, but from B. That recorded as collection from Mr. A instead of B. And now no recording of collection from B. This technique is called as a teaming and leading technique. When we're talking about frauds and scams, you will find even there are various types of cyber crimes which are taking place, like shopping frauds, discount coupon frauds, Paytm OLX buy and sell fraud, dating scam, ATM pin expiry. Do you remember that Cosmos Bank scam, fake job scam, phishing attacks, identity stealing, and even friend request scam? So many various scams are there when we are talking on that part. When you're talking about cyber crimes, even friends, cybercrime in the country is that 8,000 cases were there in the 2000 section. In 17, it increased to 22,000. And 18-19, even it is now much more. You'll find that now an average of 50 FIRs are registered every day in Bangalore, and 3 hours to work on an FIR. 3% of cybercrime cases reach the stage of being charged across India, and 56% of cases damage can be controlled if public are informed early, but no proper system exists yet. Means I would say awareness issue is there. And why this amount have increased from 8,000 cases to 20,000 cases? Because of the easily availability of the internet. We know that Mota Bhai, Reliance Jio came in the 2017, where the data charges have reduced with a considerable amount. And even after COVID, it has increased to much more. Even a small person uses UPI and even other gadgets. Even my homemaid who is coming to my home and see WhatsApp my wife that today I'm not coming, please arrange yourself. Which was now doing a call now, even now talking in a WhatsApp, but they don't have much more awareness because we are looking at the big frauds, even a small frauds, and most importantly, cyber crimes is even one of the main part in today's arena, friends. What are the fraud detection and prevention top 8 practice which we can have and which can be easy for us to do our practice easily? First is a create a potential fraud risk profile, that how the fraud have taken place and what is a risk profile on that. Address the possible indicators of fraud. You have to think in a various angle. ये भी हो सकता है, even this can be happen, this can be happen, this can be happen. You cannot have a predetermined thinking on your mind. It can be on a multiple angle. Implement continuous auditing and monitoring of that thing, friends. You know that now RBI have kept that since we are doing a concurrent audit of banks, in the same way for the account higher than 250 crores, there is a now requirement of a ASM, that is Agency for Special Monitoring. Any borrower who has taken a fund more than 250 crores from banks, he have to compulsory make a ASM from the lead bank. So it's a continuous auditing and monitoring for them even. Means I would say preventive technique of detecting fraud, or I would say preventing fraud, friends. Increase organizational awareness of the monitoring activity. Deploy artificial intelligence. And we know the world of artificial intelligence. Everyone is talking now and then about the chat GPT and other AI tools. Encourage anti-money laundering and fraud suspicious activity reporting in a company. Deploy intelligent cash management, and the most important, learn, adapt, and repeat the same. If this thing is taken place, friends, the preventive method is implemented in a very good manner in some company. What are the types of fraud detection techniques? It can be with the purview of a statistical data analysis or a artificial intelligence. When we're talking about statistical data analysis, friends, it includes statistical parameter calculation, probability distribution and models, regression analysis, and data matching. And since we know that now when a big fraud happens, so there are numerous amount of data available at that time. So this all the detection techniques used to help us on that part. But when we're talking about artificial intelligence, it includes data mining, neural networks, machine learning, which can be supervised or an unsupervised one, and even a pattern recognition, which is one of the most important thing, friends. What are the audit forensic audit broad methods and procedures? You have to make a checklist of this and you have to just take like this do. One is a data analysis. The data should be analyzed in a proper manner and proper way. Then an analytic procedure should be kept in a proper manner of a various things. And you have to assess the risk, that which incident or which event has a much more risk and which has a lower risk. You have to categorize the same. Let's say I am looking at the stock audit of some company and I have found a 1 lakh variance of some product, but having a value of only 0.50 paisa. And I have found a variance of only 5 unit, but having a value of 50 lakh rupees each, which is much more. So we being a CA, we know that thing, that material concepts always makes an impact. And you have to check that which risk assessment and which risk to be taken much more weightage on that part. Inspection of a thing, observation, and forensic accountant should have a very keen observation and he should evaluate the person on that part. External confirmation, you must know that now when we are doing any kind of audit, the external confirmation plays a very major role. And in external confirmation, if it is done with a proper way, it brings a very miracle result, I would say, friends. Even the department used to have external confirmation that recalculation of something, the calculation has been made, but calculating on that part whether the calculation is proper or not. And the most important is a re-performance. The work that they are doing, a process they are making, by re-performing the same thing, there may be something which may have make changes. You must have heard about the management game where now 7 or 10 people are standing. I will say in the ears of a person who is standing at the first, and he will say the same thing to the different person. You will find at the 10th person who is standing, the matter or the word which I have said him will be different. And that is called a re-performance. We have to check and walk through on that part. Inquiry. Inquiry is the important thing, friends. Before that, I would discuss about the interview. When we are taking any formal or informal interview on that part, it makes an impact. And by having a personal interview, many things come into picture. People thinks about questionnaire, it is not that much useful, but having an interview on personal basis makes an impact. And the most important thing, even from out of inquiry, is an interrogation. Interrogation, the person if I'm talking about interrogation, if you're having a camera with them and they are not knowing that thing, even if they are knowing that, and you are having a proper interrogation on that part, it works like anything. Because in interrogation, the person, if he get confused, he is just now moving his hand like this and now he's shivering like that, you will come to know that there is some mistake. And आप ऐसा बोल सकते हो दया कुछ तो है. Moving further, friends, what are the tools for fraud detection? They are trend analysis. Trend analysis makes a very impact on everything, friends. When we're talking about the trend analysis, it is a sequence of a thing where now we are putting a details of 5 to 10 years of a company, and we are looking at now is there any change in some trend. Let's say company is paying a commission of 5% to a person who is now bringing any work, and in some year they have given 20%. So that trend shows the difference. The pattern is now change. At that time, a red flag can be shown to you, and you may work on that part. AC always plays a miracle. I says that I got a profit of 500 crores. So you will be amazed. Wow, 500 crores of profit. And some other company have made a profit of only 50 crores. So you will think, oh, 500 crores and 50 crores, it makes a difference. But other way, I would say that the company who have made a profit of 500 crores, their turnover was 10,000 crores. But here, the company which has made a profit of 50 crores had a turnover of only 200 crores. So the ratio will show you the correct path. So sometimes आपको बहुत बार फिगर आपको गुमराह कर सकते हैं. They may disguise you, but the ratio will give you the perfect result of that thing. So ratio analysis is a very important tool for using as a forensic tools. Vertical and horizontal analysis. If vertical analysis is a very important thing, if I am looking into a company, I'm taking a 5 years of data and all the similar data I am looking on that part of the 5 years and I evaluate on that part, that is called a vertical analysis. What about horizontal analysis? I am selecting various other companies in the same industry and which is equal or near to me, and I am looking at their data of the same year of let's say 5 companies. So I will find the difference in their expense and my expense. And we know in the same industries, mostly the variable expense is normally the same. The ratio, the yield expense, all these things are mostly same. So it is going to give me some result on that part. Cross-sectional analysis is important. Analytical procedure which we are carrying out is making an impact on that part, friends. Investigation of a related party transaction. Most important, friends, because we know that sometimes it happens. If I'm not knowing any person, let's say if I'm not knowing any person, there's a chances that उससे साथ में मिलके fraud नहीं करूंगा. I'm not going to make any fraud with him if I'm not knowing that person, friends. But if it is known to me, if it is related party to me, I'm very much comfortable with him or her. And so the chances of making a fraud gets increased. It can be anything. If I'm purchasing a goods or services only from a single vendor or group of vendor, I'm not asking for any kind of quotation with others. I'm purchasing goods which is higher in amount than other vendors. I'm my dues are pending since long and I'm not making any considerable measures to recover that due. There can be many more things on that part, friends. I'm having an associate firm, I'm having a sister concern firm, I have a holding a subsidiary company from which I'm doing a regular transactions. That can be anything, friends. Benford law, one of the most important law. We are even going to discuss in quite detail for that thing, how it makes an impact. And Benny's AM score and JAD score model. AM score is a Benny's model and even JAD score model, which talks about the 5 and 8 different category of things which can be evaluated with the help of some formula, which is some quite complex formula is there, but you can evaluate the easy way with the help of Excel. And which shows you that if the ratio is more than 2 or 4 or less than that thing, it shows you whether it's a red flag or not, friends. When you're talking about the Benford law, Benford, the name of a person was a Benford. What he did, he has given an anomalous number that states that generally in naturally occurring collection of numbers, the leading digit is likely to be small and not a bigger one. I'm talking from 1 to 9, friends. Means he have said that leading number is a genuine data set. If it's a genuine data set, the one number will arrive to 30.1%. Two number will arrive at 17.6%. In the same way, consecutive, I would say that 3 number to 9, he has given a specific number to all. And with the increasing of the number, let's say 9, there's a decreasing frequency of the occurrence of that number. When we put the above data into some graph and we get the Benford probability curve, that what is the curve of that thing? Auditors often compare the leading receipts of financial transaction data, such as ledger entries, to a Benford curve to spot anomalies that may indicate a red flag and then it may occur as a fraud. This you will see as a Benford probability distribution, where 1 occurs highest and 9 occurs at the least. It is a leading digit, I would say. It shows a probability, a log probability is already there. You can see, friends. Other things you will see that what are the opportunities. Before discussing on that thing, let's discuss in few of the matter over here, friends. When I'm talking about these forensic audit tools, many people used to find that they find it hard to find the frauds and even red flag. But using these techniques will make them easier on that part. When talking about these, friends, let's say there are 3 types of expense, which is as per variance. It's a fixed expense, variable expense, and semi-variable expense. Fixed expense will be fixed for every company, but let's say it has a rent expense every year to 5 lakh rupees, and in some year it has increased to 25 lakh rupees instead of 5 lakh rupees. So we have to ask question to our mind why it has increased to 5 lakh to 25 lakh rupees. Whether the business have been increased of a customer, whether the considerable sale have been increased or not, whether capital expenditure of that company have increased or not. There can be various things that we have to understand. But if any of your doubt is not getting properly clear, so there can be chance that there is a red flag of that part, friends. In the same way, you will find that the yield production of a company is normally 98.5%. In some year, it rises to 99.8%. And in some year, it has reduced to 90%. Then you have to ask a question to your mind, to your colleague, and even to the company owner, that what is the reason to reduce the yield, whether any massacre or some incident happened, negative incident happened at the company, where the major loss has been occurred to some stock or something like that, or other than think, they have to make a proper reply of that. If you're not getting a proper reply, it is a matter of doubt on that part. Further, you have to ask a question to them, friends, that if the yield have increased to 99.8 from 98.5%, then a question should arise in my mind whether some input technology has been used, the raw material which I'm using, or the any component I'm adding to that product is of higher quality, or something has been used, or only jugglery has been made. Friends, we know that before GST, there was a trend that people used to set up only a stock part, most in the books of accounts. Sir, I need a profit, increase my stock. Sir, I need a loss, or I want to reduce my profit, just reduce a stock. What government did in section 17 subsection 5 of the GST Act, we know that it has a clause that in case of any kind of loss or any fire or anything like that, or destroy of any goods, the GST credit to be reversed on that part. So even now people have a fear of making any kind of change on that part. So there are, friends, various types of issues and fraud which are taking place, but they are unable to solve that thing. In the same way, friends, when we are talking about this investigation of related party transactions, it makes a sense, because in related party you have to make a list of the related party. In one of the incident we were taking care of a client, you can use various websites which are there. One is a Finanvo, one is a Profile, where they used to give you the related party, all the details on that part. You will find the, I would say, relationship tree on that part. Even you will get various kind of report with them. that in any company which has a similar type of address on that, any the promoter is related with how many companies, their history on that part, the details of the company, the major players of the company. You get all the details of that thing over there. Even some of the applications even give you the details of the GST by calculating that. So this thing is going to help you, friends. And the considerable things that we have to focus in this is the most important, our thought process and an experience. If we think the normal audit that we are doing will be applicable to this, no, it is not going to work out. And you cannot do a sampling work over here. The scope of work in our statutory audit or normal audit is limited. We always see give a true and fair view mostly. Only in certification we give true and correct view, and in audits we give a true and fair view. Here you have to conduct an investigation, and your scope is unlimited, I would say. But specific is always terrific. I always used to say. When initially you are conducting any kind of forensic audit, now you have to consider various aspects of that. You have to look on a different angle. Friends, you may have see the photograph of some lion or lioness, I would say. She's carrying some cub in her mouth and she's walking around. And that image was taken from the left side, and cub face was in the right side. And it shows that she is eating some small animal, means some kid of some animal. From left side, the angle shows like that. But when it is looked into the right side, it shows that it is his own kid. That is a lion cub is there. And even there was some stone which was there in the area where they were walking. So she have taken him or her in her mouth. So you will find that focus have been diverted. In case of physical deliverable of this kind of lectures, even I used to give many types of practical examples and practical things, which is going to help. And when we are considering about the forensic frauds or forensic accounting friends, at that time we have to note we think that A is a culprit, but maybe A may be a culprit, but benefit may have been delivered to B, C, or D. We don't know, and there are various and ample opportunity on that thing, friends. When we're talking on that part, we have opportunity with the government departments. There are various kind of governmental departments where they have an opportunity. We have you heard about the SFIU, Serious Fraud Investigation Office, which hires forensic auditor on that part. Even CB used to hire forensic auditor. I would say there's a IBA, that is Indian Bank Association. RBI have nominated them. They get a panel of CAs on that thing and various other firms where for frauds above 50 crores. I'm talking about frauds above 50 crores. Only 167 firms have been listed over there. And frauds below 50 crores, approx 212 firms have been listed. I'm happy to say that we are one of them. But the conditions you will find is really, I would say, high conditions are there. So you have to check that and have to apply on that thing. I always believe on a personal aspect that 90% what I believe, the conventional practice is not going to be fruitful in future. The scope of conventional practice will get reduced. And as initially informed by Nahar, discussed by me with you all, that friends, please remember one thing, that government expects much more from us. Now they don't expect us to be a watchdog, but a bloodhound. And we always see that how all the incidents are taking place on the things. So there will be a scope of forensic audit in the next 4 to 5 years, much more. Accounting firm used to take this thing, and even they use in their investigation analysis of that thing. Corporate security and risk management, for due diligence it is required, for M&A it is required. There are many more scope are there. For financial consulting firms are using these tools and forensic accounting techniques at various places, friends. It is an emerging field for professionals, friends. The number of frauds are increasing, and so the need of forensic auditors is going to increase in the days to come. As Nanda sir said, that DAB, that is Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, have reached to some other level. And we, being a ICI, have launched our FAIs, FAIS, before 2 years, and no other organization or institution have launched till date. And being a ICI, we always have a handhold on everything, and we are one of the brightest mind of the world. So we can grab this opportunity very well. But yes, usage of technology, Excel is of much more important in this thing. And even banks or other regulatory bodies are empaneling CAs and other professionals and making their own panel of forensic auditors. You can be friends. Initially, many young CAs joined me and even asked me that, sir, what is an opportunity this thing? We have completed our FAFD courses and many things, how we can, it can be helpful to us. I always say that nah, you can join with other CS who are getting this work and get a hands-on training on that part, or even you can approach your client. One is a corporate or a government part where the work is taken, and you can approach your client who is having a bigger amount or bigger numbers. You can say, I will help you on this different various of techniques or various things, and this benefit he is going to take for that. If he will find your service in a good manner, you will get a client. I had a client from some Rwanda or some Africa country, and there was, I would say, some dispute between their partners. So we have helped them by using the forensic techniques on that part. They got benefited with that, and our journey in forensic accounting has started way back on that part. So friends, it's a different criteria, different way where you can establish your practice. Getting government work is not the only thing. And mark my word, friends, even in your normal auditing, this thing is going to help if you're making a evaluation in a proper manner. There are numerous different types of frauds that a forensic accountant could be asked to investigate, which is likely to ultimately lead to legal process. Forensic accountant must therefore receive specialist training. Please note, friends, this is specialist tools, specialist methods which we have to take care of in such matters to ensure their credibility and professionalism that cannot be undermined during this legal process. So, friends, this is CA Sameer Chaudhary. It's already 7:12, means near to 7:15. I'm opening the stage for any kind of query. Thank you, friends. Myself, Sameer Chaudhary. You can even subscribe me on YouTube with my channel name, Fintech Chanakya. Ria ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Now the platform is open for any questions or something like that, ma'am.
Okay, let me check if any question is there.
Yeah. If anyone have
Yes,
any doubt,
yes,
ask.
sir. There is one question from Dehradun by Lisha Nija. Can you
Yeah.
please provide the state-wise data related to fraud which can happen in India?
Which one, ma'am? But
Which can which was happen in India? State-wise data.
which one? I'm not getting the word.
Sir, can you please provide the state-wise data
Ma'am,
related to
streetwise
fraud?
data is something. Okay, I got you. Thank you, Riyaji. Streetwise data is not available normally, but we have to check that. And even I haven't seen that. But yes, if it is available, we can forward them in future, and even they will search, they will find that. But to be frank, I haven't looked into that. We have across many bank fraud, we have taken care of that thing, and many thing. Even I am doing a PhD in that, so have collected many data, but haven't checked about the state-wise data. To be frank, even if UXG has some knowledge, he can even add on that part.
Okay, okay. There's one more question from CA Ram Samaria. So, could we have forensic tool?
Yes, there are many various types of forensic tools. I have talked about CAAT, Tableau are there. There are many various tools are there. Even you will search on a Google, you will find many more on that part. Even Excel is one of the tools which has a miracle to find many points. We used to have a VLOOKUP, we used to have PIO and many more technology. If tech conditions, there are many things which you can use, and there are considerable amount of forensic tools which can be helpful to people. I can send you a list if you want,
Okay,
but
sir, you can
few of
share
them
me.
are paid and few of them are free. That's the thing.
Okay. Now there is next question from CA Venkat Satya. What are the collaborative tools that can be used to detect forensic frauds?
We have discussed about the many various forensic tools on that part, so which have already been discussed.
Okay, the next question is from CA Jinesh. Sir, FAIS talk about evidence and not forming an opinion. The law enforcement is want us to form an opinion. They want us to quantify fraud, confirm the modus operandi, and who is fraudster. They're asking on your views, sir.
Ma'am, it depends on the scope of a thing. That what is the scope in a work that is given to us. I have already said that statutory audit has some limitations and the scope is different. In forensic audit, the scope is different. Many times when we're drafting the report on that part, we make a changes on that thing and the report which we are delivering can be, I would say, quite diplomatic. I cannot say that with the evidence of the thing I have taken, he is a fraud only. It is not our work to declare anyone fraud. That is the authority who is taking our report and considering our report have to say that it is a fraud or not. We have to simply say that this modus operandi has been taken place and this fraud has taken place and this is a quantum of a fraud. But whether it's a fraud or not, that is not our work. If they're telling that, we have to be quite dicey on that to reply.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, next question is from Sumit Jain from Jaipur. How to implement a control by which employee could not take a printout for their personal use?
Ma'am, there is few apps where you can control the system of a your, I would say, any computer you can have a system control where you will know that which are the logs they are taking place. And when talking about the practical thing, I have seen many senior people, I'm not talking only about the CA, but many senior people, they used to keep that printing paper at their desk only. And when they need to give that printing, they are giving them. ये 5 paper print लेके आ. That is a practical aspect, but looking at the small part is not a major thing. We have to, as I have discussed about the materiality concept, if you are looking on a bigger thing, this paper is going to happen. But yes, you can track the activity of your article or any employee, what he has done in the whole day. That can be possible with the application.
Now, the next question is from Anjali Gupta from West Delhi. Software we should use analysis tools, if any, recommended by you.
W, CAAT, there various tools are there which can be used.
Okay, next question is from Ganesh from Chennai. With organization looking for reduction in employee cost, maker, checker, and approver concept is slowly moving away. What is the alternate to that?
Ma'am, they are two different things, what I believe. That maker checker concept is not going to be away anytime. They are reducing their employee because many times the technology is taking part of that. And during, I would say, when the business was very much good at that time, they have made a hiring in a large number. So when the business is at staggering part or on a matured part, whenever it happens that they are removing or they are reducing their employees, it doesn't mean that the checker and maker part has been reduced. Being a human being and having a human mind, we are going or we are having a privilege of having a special things because even the AI tools have been prepared with our knowledge only. Have you ever thought why Chat GPT is spending 1 crore rupees every day and giving us a free concepts on that thing? Because they use our data, our knowledge on that part, that what we are searching on that part. So never it is going to happen that human brain is going to be reduced anyway. But yes, in sometimes I would say, and there will be some days where sometimes a reduction is going to take place. Let's discuss about the, I would say, work from home. People thought after COVID that they will be work from home only. No any company is going to call us again for physical work. Again, after 2 years, whole scenario have changed. Many companies, even the IT companies, are calling to people. Even the companies which are like, I have a friend who is in actual UK, is working for a company from Bengaluru. Now they have even called him up. No, you have to work from Bangalore office only, not from home. So you will find a changes is there, man. And that is my submission on that part.
Okay, sir. Now the next question is from CA Kundan Kumar. How stock valuation can be used as a tool for forensic accounting?
Ma'am, I have told about the trend analysis. I have informed you about the vertical analysis and all these things. If you will find that in case of stock prices, the value of prices have declined, but it has declined. What is the reason for that? That before declining of the stock, there was a high volume in a company, and the promoter have reduced their stock stake on that part. If the promoter have reduced their stake, so something was fishy or something was there. So it can be one of the strategy on that part. If you are discussing about the Silicon Valley Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, I am going to launch a case study on that part today evening only. I'm planning for that on my fintech channel, this YouTube channel. So it was noticed that it got some award from authority. One day before, Moody's have reduced their rating on that part. But before 15 days, the company have given a bonus and much more benefits to their employees. And even the stake of the promoters and directors have reduced to a considerable amount. So if such a thing is happening, so it's a simple, I would say you can take care of that thing and you can analyze on that part with respect to stock.
Thank you. And the next question is it always better to use Altman Z score?
Ma'am, Altman chat score is mostly used for manufacturing industries, which shows the five basic criteria of that thing. But even the further is a M score instead of Z score, and even one more is a C score. So depending on the industry and looking on that part, a person have to decide whether he have to use Altman Z score, M score, C score, other tools. That's the thing, ma'am.
Okay, so now the next question is from Anuradha. With limited time given for audit, can forensic accounting tools be implemented in a regular audit practices to safeguard VCA being held guilty?
Ma'am, first of all, we have to check on that part that why anyone is nah, being held guilty on that part. Our auditing standards always say that we have to keep a working papers with us. If we are using a proper guidance on that part, we are not doing anything on a negligence part. So it is not our authority, or I would say our liability to reduce that part. So one thing, obviously to reduce that negligibility नहीं हो, उसके लिए audit tools obviously use हो सकते हैं. I have heard somewhere before 1 or 2 years that there's a Rajkot firm, a CA Rajkot firm, which has prepared a tools where auditing can be done in 30 seconds. They give you the result of that. There are many more softwares are available. Even you can use AI tools on that part. So obviously, if you're using that thing, it is going to help you. If I'm telling you very basic things, ma'am, if you're going in a bank audit, and because it's a trend nowadays to use a bank audit, people are going and it's a ending of that watch. I would say 15 or 20 days maximum में खत्म करनी पड़ेगी आपको branch audit. Ma'am, people used to take a file to do a bank audits normally. Before taking up files, if we are conducting at least a basic analysis in their Excel sheet of their data, कि कहाँ पे कुछ misappropriation लगता है, उसका कुछ red flag निकलता है, and then we are doing that thing, it is going to save your time, going to help you on that part, and even you have a proper analysis that why you have selected this file. It is a proper statistical analysis you can keep on that part. So obviously it is going to help you on that.
Okay, sir. Now the next question is, sir, in case of manufacturing concern where raw material, work in progress and finished goods are there, how to check whether any fraud exists in valuation of stock?
Ma'am, I have discussed about materiality yield. Yield is the most important thing. Then in a simple and easy way, what you can do, you can have a stock register of a client and you can analyze on that part whether on a monthly basis any difference is getting place or not. You can see the ratio of the stock, what at what level they are purchasing. There's a concept of a minimum ordering or not. There's a concept of a minimum holding or not. And what is the duration period normal the stock is putting there in their company. Let's say if I'm talking about some tobacco industries, they are not going to hold their stock for more than 2 months. Yes, it is going to sell. In case of some, I would say milk or some industries, they cannot keep for more than 24 hours or 48 hours maximum. In case of some iron industries or such industries where goods is not getting vanished or something like that, they can even keep for 2 years, 3 years, that can be possible. So we have to check that cycle, and ratio plays a very important role in that. When we are analyzing on that part, we can know on that.
Okay. So the next question is from Pratik. Does the certificate course on forensic accounting and fraud detection offered by ICAI can help in getting assignments?
It is one of the thing, ma'am. They never guarantee you for anything, to be frank. If I became CA, मतलब ये नहीं कि मुझे जॉब या बिजनेस मिल ही जाएगा. They assist you on that thing. It's a post qualification course and it's a certification course. Many times company ask when you are getting an assignment, let's say I'm talking about ASM or this implement in IBA, even Vivek sir will even add on in that thing that they ask that if you have done FAFD or CFE such type of course, it is required on that part. So at that time, for making an entry, it is required. But if you are doing any private work, that is not required. That is your experience and licensing with your client is required much more. Vivekji, hope it is correct.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, even in my case, I first started the forensic accounting or forensic audit work, and then I took the FAFD degree.
Same thing here. So it happens. The trust factor plays a major role on this thing.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question is from Sumesh Kumar. Being an auditor, how to verify that company has done transaction with a related party apart from reported to us, as we have very limited time during tax audit?
First of all, party have to report in their tax audit report. You take out that tax audit report of the last year, you will come to know that. Then I have told you about the various websites are there, like Finanmo is there, Profile is there, various websites are there, where you can see the tree chart of the related party. You will find from there. You can check from the financials even that maximum transactions have taken place from which party. That thing, if you are going to analyze that thing, who is the owner of that company, who is the major shareholding of that company, whether there is a relation or not. By this way, you can analyze that thing. I always say, before doing any work, the planning of that is most important. If a person is there who have to cut 5 trees in short span of time, instead of starting up cutting a tree, we have to spend my 50 to 60% of time in sharpening my axe. If I'm sharpening my axe, my work will be done very much easy. Because of the low time, I am not going to discuss much more on this story, but that is not only required. People used to do work anytime, but if they are looking the process of the company in a detailed manner, knowing the knowledge of the business, having we have discussed about the interrogation, inquiry, discussion, observation with them. If you are doing a thorough analysis of that thing, your work will be easier, far easier than normal work, because you have a limited time even in forensic accounting and auditing work. You will not have an ample work.
Okay, sir. And the next question is, do you think ICD is used by many companies as the instrument for financial fraud?
Ma'am,
ICD, intercorporate
yes,
deposit.
ma'am, I cannot comment much more on that part, but yes, somewhere it may be useful because the definition which they are giving. So it happens people used to keep it as an unsecured loan. Some keep it in their books as a deposits. It is there, but there is a part when we are going somewhere in stock audit even na, we used to
Yes.
check that in the books of accounts whether they haven't shown their creditors as a ICD. That can be possible even in the unsecured loan they are keeping that thing. So ICD can be one of the part of that thing. Anything which is not been easily confirmed by the third party and they are not having any authority, like if I would say corporate deposits, which can be verified from some corporates or something like or some banks, then it is easy for me to evaluate that thing. But if it is unregularized deposit, it may make some issue, and that can be possible.
Okay, sir. Now the next question is from Tushar Sharma from Ahmedabad. Can you guide on what courses which can add on to upskill in this field?
I have already said about FAFD. ICE is offering CFE, that is Certified Fraud Examiner of USA, which cost you from 40,000 if you are doing a classes, 80,000 to 1 lakh rupees, and hardly there are 85,000 professionals across globe. And person can even get a chance to work with Big Fours and even FBI if they are doing this course. The various other courses are there, which is a forensic accounting in concurrent audits of a banks, and various other courses are there. Even after being a CPA, you do some course in forensic accounting. There is some scope on that part. So there are various things, but yes, practice is required. Your experience and using of tools is most important in that thing.
Sir, I think due to time constant, there are many more questions. We
Ma'am,
should call it
that's why I
now.
have completed at 7:15 so that I can take few questions. And even Vivek ji is waiting for that. Ma'am, you can
No, no,
that
no, no,
question.
Sameer, bhai, please take the questions. That's fine.
There are
If you
20
want to take a
plus
couple
more
of questions.
pending now. So, like,
Okay.
decide 20 plus more questions pending from the
Fine. Ma'am,
days.
what you can do, friends, here is already my mobile number and email ID is there. You can mail me or WhatsApp me. I will try to address as much as possible. I always used to say CA Sameer Chaudhary, hashtag always available. So I will be available. So I am going to reply you that thing. If you want to gain much more knowledge, this is my YouTube channel, FinTech Chanakya, where I used to share knowledge on forensic accounting, cyber security, finance and taxation, and even there are many panel discussions on that. You can even subscribe that thing. It's totally free, friends. And thank you. It's already, sir, 7:30. People can message or mail me. I will surely address. And now, thank you, Ria ma'am. And
Thank you so
Vivek
much, sir, for your valuable time.
ji, floor is
And
yours. And again, thanks to DAB, the whole team, Charan Joshi, Nanda sir, and Dayanivas Sharma sir, for giving me this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
thank you, sir. So, our next speaker is CA Vivek Shah from Mumbai, having specialization in international taxation, crypto advisory, and forensic audit. Currently, his clients are spread over 16 plus countries. He has been selected as an international speaker for UAE tax laws by ICAI also. Now, the stage is on you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ria madam. Wonderful presentation, I must say, by CA Sameer Chaudhary. So some really good insights given by him on the topic of forensic accounting and fraud investigations. Thank you very much to everyone at DAB, especially the chairman, vice chairman, the secretary to the committee, and all the office bearers. Having said that, the topic for me, given to me today, is law enforcement agencies and how should chartered accountants specifically deal with multiple law enforcement agencies. What are the do's and don'ts? What should you take into account when you're dealing with any law enforcement agency? So, friends, when we talk about law enforcement agencies, we talk primarily, we will talk about either the Central Bureau of Investigation, the Enforcement Directorate, and again, from the indirect tax side, from the GST side, the DGGI, which is very active as far as investigations are concerned for GST in India. Apart from that, there is something called as the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, which is the SFIO. The jurisdiction of SFIO is with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and SFIO is primarily tasked with investigating corporate frauds related to either money laundering or any nature of fraud which has led to loss of public money. So, having said that, there are multiple agencies that we chartered accountants would ideally deal with. Now, what are the do's and don'ts is what I'm going to talk about. I will also talk about a few practical cases where I have dealt personally with multiple law enforcement agencies. I will also talk about cases where chartered accountants have been arrested, in some cases where apparently there was no fault of theirs, but yet they were arrested or they were on the verge of getting arrested. And finally, we will talk about what are the powers that the investigating officer has vis-a-vis what are the rights that a chartered accountant or a client has, and how should you handle these kind of notices, queries, scrutinies, and investigations. So with this, we begin our topic for today. Just a minute. Yes. All right. So first and foremost, how would this ideally work? Let us understand what is the process, how is the notice generated, what are the nitty-gritties of it, and ultimately, how is it that you're going to get your clients out of this mess, if at all they are in a mess? So first and foremost, a notice is issued. A notice can be issued under Section 160 of the CRPC or under Section 91 of the CRPC. Section 160 of CRPC says that you have been summoned and you have to personally appear in order to be a witness for an investigation or for an inquiry. depending on whether it is an investigation or an inquiry, the appropriate section will be quoted and will be listed. Whereas Section 91 of the CRPC, when we talk about Section 91 of CRPC, it talks about calling for documents or information. So this is the first step that will happen when any investigation, when any law enforcement agency approaches you or your client or your companies. A lot of times, people don't really know whether it is an investigation or whether it is an inquiry. The difference is the section. An investigation is done when there is enough evidence to prove that an alleged fraud has been committed. And an inquiry is done or an inquiry is initiated only when there is a reason to believe that there is a fraud that could have been committed. So this is the difference between an investigation and an inquiry, and it starts with a notice. At times, I'll tell you about the kind of notices that are shared. So firstly, when you deal with SFIO, which is a Serious Fraud Investigation Office, SFIO, whenever they issue a notice, they have a DIN. The way an income tax notice has a DIN, similarly, SFIO notices also have a DIN. And if SFIO has issued a notice to you or your company or your client, in that case, you can go on their website, put the DIN number over there and check whether the notice is genuine or not. At times, I've heard cases of businessmen and business persons who are and high net worth individuals who told me that they've received notices, but on plain reading of a notice, you know that it is a fake notice. On a plain reading, you will come to know that there is no merit in it. On a plain reading, you will come to know that there is no stamp on it. On a plain reading, you will come to know that the sections quoted are incorrect. In such cases, when fake notices are issued, it's best that you go directly to the department. Whichever department has issued a notice, you can directly go walk into that department because you have a copy of the notice in your hand. So go directly to the department and inquire whether this is actually a notice issued by them or not. Because as I said, over the last couple of years, the cases of fake notices have increased. So it's best to check whether the notice is genuine or not. Another methodology by which you can check whether the notice is genuine or not is by cross-checking the email address written over there. So if the email address given belongs to a particular government or an agency, in that case, you have reasons to believe that this is a genuine notice. A lot of times, scamsters who issue fake notices on fake letterheads with fake stamps, even though it looks very genuine, they will insist that you meet them outside the department or meet them outside at any third-party place. That is again a red flag as to knowing whether it is a genuine notice or not, because no department or no officer will ever call you at any place outside of the department. And of course, if it is a genuine notice, they would prefer meeting you only during working hours, let's say between 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. So as I said, it all begins with a notice, and then once you receive the notice, you must check whether it is genuine or not genuine, whether it is a scam, whether the bona fides of it can be verified or not. And on basis of that, you can probably determine whether how to proceed with the notice. The third part, the last part in this slide, which I would like to talk about, is about cooperating. Whenever you, your clients, or your businesses receive a notice from any law enforcement agency, the first thing that you must write ever in any reply is that you or your client or your company will cooperate during the course of this inquiry, FIR, or investigation. So the reason for putting this is that non-cooperation should never become a reason for arrest. So if you have explicitly mentioned that you're fully and willingly going to cooperate during the proceedings of the FIR, inquiry, or investigation, then the chances for arrest would come down drastically. Of course, it's not just about saying that you will cooperate, but you also have to cooperate in real. So these are some of the important points which I thought I should bring to your notice as far as the generation of the notice is concerned, to the genuineness of the notice which is issued, to the FIR or the inquiry that has been initiated, and finally how to cooperate, and to cooperate with various law enforcement agencies. Now let us understand what is the role of chartered accountants in assisting their clients or their businesses or themselves. So primarily, when if it is a financial fraud, a chartered accountant would be involved in the most likely scenario since the inception of this notice, or the inquiry, or the FIR. Having said that, as chartered accountants, it is not only our duty, but it is also our right to explain anything and everything that has been attested by us. For example, if you have attested a balance sheet, it is the department, or the law enforcement agency will call upon you, and they will inquire as to what exactly have you done in issuing that audit report, or issuing a net worth certificate, or attesting any other document. Whichever whichever attestation function you've used, you will be liable for it. I won't say for a period of only 7 years. It can go much beyond 7 years also, or beyond 8 years also. Unlike what it is in the Income Tax Act or the Companies Act, this can go much beyond that if you have signed any document. The good part today is that whenever you sign a document, you have to generate a UDIN. This is actually a savior for chartered accountants who are in the practice of forensic accounting and fraud detection. Because in the past, a lot of documents were attested with fake signatures, and there was absolutely no way to cross-check or cross-verify whether the signature was actually done by the chartered accountant or not. Having said that, today we're living in times where there is UDIN, so we don't have to worry about it. We must definitely thank ICAI for the implementation of UDIN at such a mass scale. I think there are more than 2 crore UDINs which have already been issued as we speak, and this shows the genuineness of the signature of the person who's signing the documents. So the reason why I say this is because in the past there were some documents which were signed by a particular person. When the signature was cross-verified, at that time it came to the knowledge of the investigating agency that the signature does not match with the signature of the chartered accountant. The chartered accountant was called for questioning, and the chartered accountant also refused, saying that he has not signed any of these documents. But ultimately, the burden of proof in such cases was with the chartered accountant, who was the auditor in the previous year, but who had filed for his resignation. And that document of resignation was very much available and visible on the ROC portal, on the MCA portal. Now, when it comes to our responsibility as chartered accountant, so first and foremost is that we have to give a timely response, because timing is very crucial. And as I always say, time is of essence. Whenever you're writing all of these documents, or whenever you're writing letters, make sure that you add these particular words also. Always begin with the words "without prejudice," and always end with a line, "Time is of the essence." This will actually help you a lot whenever you're dealing with law enforcement agencies, and this will help you as far as the legal liabilities of a chartered accountant are concerned. Now, when we talk about giving a response, first, we can assist our clients in preparation of documents. We can assist them with the presentation to be made in front of various law enforcement agencies. We can give a detailed analysis of the documents that we are presenting. We can explain to them, because a lot of times what happens is that business persons, when they are called for questioning, they have a very standard reply saying that my chartered accountant would know this. Whom have you given 10 crores? Why have you given 20 crores? Where is the 50 crores? In the most likely scenario, businessmen who are into core businesses may probably not know what is exactly happening in the financials. So a very standard reply that a lot of them give is that my chartered accountant will be able to explain this. I'm not aware about these transactions. Apart from that, chartered accountants can also assist their clients, companies, directors, or their friends in recording of the statement as a witness. So let's say your client, friend, or your company or your director has received a notice from a law enforcement agency, and he or she is required to record a statement. Now, in such a case, if the investigating officer permits the chartered accountant or the lawyer to sit and assist in recording the statement, you will be able to do so. Now, here the discretion is purely of the investigating officer or the IO. The investigating officer has the power to allow a chartered accountant or a lawyer or any other third person, let's say just an accountant or any person who's acquainted with the books of accounts of a particular company, to assist at the time of recording of statement. Just if in case the investigating officer is of the opinion that you must not sit, then there is no way you can ask this for as a right before the investigating officer. So as chartered accountants, we can also assist our clients, companies, directors, and friends as far as recording of statement is concerned under section 150 of the CRPC when they have been summoned or called as witnesses and where their statement is being recorded. Moving forward, I will talk about the authority to represent. So CS definitely can represent clients during investigations. A lot of times, some law enforcement agencies may ask you, who exactly are you? And when you say that you're a chartered accountant, they would say, or they would respond very, very, very casually or informally, they would say, please send the lawyer. So at that time, it is our duty to explain that, yes, we as chartered accountants are qualified to represent during our clients and our friends, family, relatives, and directors of the companies during the course of investigation. We have the right and we have the power. That's point one. Point number two is, in case of a financial fraud, most of the frauds that where chartered accountants would be involved for assistance would primarily be of financial in nature, right? So for financial frauds, I think it is a chartered accountant who is in the best position to explain the way funds have moved out or the funds have moved in, where the funds have gone, what is the end utilization of funds. I think chartered accountants are best equipped to deal with these kind of cases. So you must explain to the investigating officer that you as a chartered accountant are also competent, capable, and you have the authority to represent clients during a financial fraud investigation or during a financial fraud inquiry. So as I said, the discretion of the investigating officer who may allow a chartered accountant to be present is given under section 161 of the CRPC. You can always request the officer to allow you, and whereby he or she may use his or her discretion to allow you. But in case if the investigating officer is of the opinion that a chartered accountant or a lawyer must not be present, it may not be challenged. Now, another point is the first point was to assist your client, customer, director, or friend to record a statement. Now, the second scenario that I'm going to talk about over here today is where you record the statement on behalf of your client, friend, director, or a company in the course of an investigation. So CAs are also allowed, and please make a note of it. CAs are allowed to record statement on behalf of the clients, provided they have the requisite letter of authority. So prepare a letter of authority on a stamp paper. In different states, there is different denomination of stamp paper which is required. So please make sure that the stamp paper value is appropriate to suit the document that you are executing. For example, if you were in the state of Maharashtra, it is 500 rupees. In other states, it may be 15. In some states, it may be 100. Having said that, if you have a letter of authority, which is executed on a non-judicial stamp paper, having an appropriate denomination, in that case, the law enforcement agency may accept you to record your statement on behalf of the client. Once your statement is recorded, it will be deemed as if your client, friend, company, or director has recorded the statement himself or herself, and they will be legally bound by the statement given by you. So make sure that whatever are the contents of these kind of statements are absolutely true, correct, and show the factual position. Moving forward, we will talk about one very critical issue, and the critical issue pertains and revolves around the arrest of chartered accountants. So, if you recollect, a lot of chartered accountants have been arrested in the past, and chartered accountants have been subjected to multiple scrutinies, multiple cases, multiple disciplinary actions for the wrongdoings of their clients. One very famous case which we saw recently in Ghaziabad was of two chartered accountants who were arrested in case of a refund granted by the GST department. It was an insider job. Done by people from the department, within the department. Secondly, it was who was the ultimate beneficiary of those 2 crore rupees fund. It was the company or the promoter or the director. And third, who was arrested? It was the chartered accountant. Now, when you read these kind of news in media, you will actually wonder whether it was correct or not correct. I think we are not over here to judge that, but whether we should take enough safeguards to protect ourselves and our fellow community members and professional brothers and sisters from getting into these kind of litigations, or this kind of trouble. So can chartered accountants be arrested by law enforcement agencies? So the answer is very much a yes. Chartered accountants have been arrested in the past and are being arrested even as we speak. But what can we do to change this in future? First and foremost, we as chartered accountants must ensure that we are not on the wrong side of the law. Ultimately, if it is your client, friend, company, relative, or a director, as the case may be. So whether you're in practice, whether you're in industry, or whether you own your own company, have a startup, or you're in business, whatever as the case may be, never be on the wrong side of the law is what I always tell people. At times you cannot change the law of the land, and at times you will probably have to change the land if you cannot change the law. So whatever you do, make sure that you're following the law of the land, because following the law of the land is by far the most important thing which we as chartered accountants must follow. And when we talk about chartered accountants getting arrested, so for what kind of issues have chartered accountants been arrested in the past? So in the past, when we look at the recent few years, in the past, chartered accountants have been arrested for issuing net worth certificates, fake net worth certificates. Chartered accountants have been issued for signing balance sheets where appropriate checks and balances were not in place. Chartered accountants have been arrested in the past for signing projected financials on basis of which banks or financial institutions have granted loans. So I will clarify over here once again for the knowledge and for the benefit of everyone. Never attest any projected balance sheet of any company, client, friend, or director. Never do that. Never. Because on basis of those documents, banks will issue a loan to them. And if they default on the loan, the first thing that the law enforcement agencies will do is they will target the chartered accountants because they're soft targets. Now, when you are representing your client at the department, it is highly unlikely that you would ever get arrested for that. So representing clients in front of law enforcement agencies is not a concern of worry at all for us. As long as you're on the right side of the law, I think you don't have to worry. Second thing, but what if you have performed certain attestation functions? What if you have performed certain auditing functions or signing functions? In that case, the responsibility or the burden of proof will always be on the chartered accountant. So whenever you're doing your audits, make sure you have appropriate management representation letters. You have appropriate qualifications in the audit report. If you cannot ascertain the value of the closing stock, make sure that it is mentioned in your audit report that you are unable to ascertain the exact value of the closing stock, and hence you're relying on the representation given by the promoters or the directors. If you are unable to, if you cannot check whether a particular asset exists or doesn't exist, make sure that you've qualified your reports appropriately, because these things will go not, as I mentioned, these things are not only bound by limitation of time, but depending on the quantum and the nature of the fraud, the department can internally take permissions to go up to 10 years, up to 20 years, up to 30 years, or up to perpetuity also. So there is no time barring in case of criminal offenses. So make sure that you have enough documentary evidence before you sign any single document from now onwards. Other cases where chartered accountants have been arrested are in case of GST frauds, which refund frauds is something that we've discussed. GST frauds where there is bogus billing, and ultimately there are export of goods, and all the parties in the entire chain will then claim refund of input tax credit. Other frauds are where chartered accountants have been arrested is money laundering in case of bank siphoning, in case of course a lot of CAs have been arrested for this matter specifically, is assisting a public servant in collecting a bribe. So whenever a public servant is caught and it has come to the knowledge of law enforcement agencies that chartered accountants were involved in it, that is where again chartered accountants have been arrested in the past. Of course, as I said, at times the allegations are true, at times the allegations are false and are misleading in nature. But having said that, our duty as professionals, or our duty as our duty as law-abiding citizens should be that we should always be on the right side of the law. Make sure that you are never on the wrong side of the law as far as your professional obligations are concerned. Now, I would like to talk about a few other points which I was noted down while CA Sameer Chaudhary was discussing. So when it comes to financial frauds, or when it comes to forensic accounting, as he very rightly mentioned, as CA Sameer Chaudhary very rightly mentioned, that there are multiple indicators. There are multiple models, statistical models, softwares which are available through which you can identify frauds, or where you can red flag a particular fraud. So in such cases, whenever you identify any such lapses or any such red flags, my first suggestion to you is that you must be extremely cautious when you are working for these kind of clients. Make sure that you have complete documentation, appropriate disclosures, enough warnings, enough legal disclaimers mentioned wherever you're signing their documents. And if the situation permits, you may also give up that assignment in order to protect your professional liability, and to of course to safeguard your own reputation. Now there is a particular approach that you must take. So the first thing that I always tell people is, you must think not once but maybe 100 times before you sign. If you think before you sign, you don't have to think any further. But if you sign before you think, you are at the mercy of law. Law may catch up with you at any point of time, even after a decade or a couple of decades, and you may still be answerable for any document that you had signed. So always think before you sign. And after seeing the kind of cases that I've seen, okay, I am actually very cautious before taking up any attestation function now onwards. So unless and until I know the promoters, I know their background, I've done a due diligence, I've done a background check about them, I would ideally not take up an assignment for any attestation function. At times, random people just walk in, they ask us to sign their ITRs. They ask us to attest their ITRs. They ask us to attest their financials, projected financials. Be very, 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 very careful before taking up any of these kind of assignments, because it may land you in trouble. Today, I'm going to talk about one more case, a practical case where a very senior chartered accountant was almost on the verge of getting arrested, a Mumbai-based chartered accountant, and I was called by the department to give a professional opinion on whether the chartered accountant should be arrested or not. Now, I'll give you the facts of the case very briefly. Okay. First and foremost, what happened was, there was one particular proprietor, a proprietor who was running a very good business. He was a service provider doing a massive turnover of somewhere around 200 crores as a proprietorship. Since the turnover was good and the business was profitable, he was offered loans from multiple banks. He started borrowing money from banks. Then came a period where there was an alleged fraud, where the money was then diversified or transferred or siphoned, as I may use all these words interchangeably. The funds were sent out to other associated entities or related parties. Now the money which was paid to related parties was given under the pretext of services. In one fine year, then there was a loss. After that, there were continuous years of losses. In each and every year, the money was primarily transferred to related parties only. And then eventually, in the third year, the person defaulted, did not pay the bank, and ultimately the company, which was the borrower, had lost all the funds. It was diverted to family members of the accused, and since it was a public sector undertaking bank, it was a PSU bank, it went to one of the premier law enforcement agencies of this country, and they were investigating the matter. The person was summoned. The charge sheet was filed, and the person was still trying. The charge sheet was not filed. The person was summoned. He gave his explanations. The matter was prolonged for a couple of years. The accused, who was the borrower, in the meantime expired. He deceased. So once he deceased, as you know, in India, criminal liabilities come to an end once the accused deceases. So once the person deceased, the matter was still being investigated by the department. After due understanding of the matter and due investigation, they were almost about on the verge of concluding their investigation, and they said that all the money has gone from the proprietor's company to the other family members. And in that case, the chartered accountant was aware that the money is going to family members. He has signed the balance sheet, and because he has signed the audit report, the balance sheet, and everything, he must be arrested because there is no other person to arrest. Since they were in dilemma whether to arrest the chartered accountant or not, a very senior officer from the law enforcement agency called me and requested me to provide my opinion in this matter. I rushed to the department and I understood the facts. And eventually I asked them their reasons as to why should a chartered accountant be arrested when he was never the ultimate beneficial owner of the funds which were siphoned off, or of the funds which were laundered through multiple companies through a web of entities and and eventually were parked in the hands of the family members. So the department said that since there is no other person who can be arrested because the proprietor has deceased, and the chartered accountant was aware that the money is going to other family owned entities and to other family members, hence the chartered accountant must be arrested. Again, as Sameer Chaudhary just mentioned before, this is the very first thing that we are ever taught in our audit, is that an auditor is a watchdog but not bloodhound. When I questioned the gentleman who was investigating, the investigating officer, I asked him that, sir, on what basis have you formed this opinion? He said that if a chartered accountant is aware, he should have stopped it, or he should have qualified that the money is being paid to family members. So I told him, sir, why don't you pull out the audit report of the entity or of the proprietorship? Have related party disclosures been given or not? So I told him that this is how you log in, download this, and we saw that right in front of us. And I told him, sir, in his tax audit report, it is duly classified that these are related party transactions. So then his next question was, why did he not tell the owner to not make these payments, because ultimately he would make a loss and not be able to repay? So I said, sir, in my personal opinion, an auditor is never supposed to ask propriety questions to the client or to the company. This is again something which we have to follow according to our auditing standards. And again, this is something that we have been taught in our audit subject during our studies. And the third question that I asked the honorable investigating officer, I asked him this, that, sir, on what basis do you think he should go beyond his scope of work? His scope of work was only to audit. By audit, it means whether there was documentary evidence, whether it was in the correct period, whether taxes were deducted, whether taxes such as service tax, back then there was service tax, no GST, whether service tax was paid to the government treasury or not. So if all of those checks and balances are there, if the invoice is present, it is during the same period being audited. It is not a prior period expenditure. If the invoice is signed, if there are KYC documents related to both the parties, if it is a bank transfer. I said, sir, on what basis or how would a chartered accountant come to know that the person who's committing an alleged fraud or a person who's trying to launder money or siphon funds, what is his ulterior motive, or what is the modus operandi of the person who's committing a fraud? So at that point of time, after an extensive discussion and after debating on a lot of points, ultimately I could convince the investigating officer that a chartered accountant must not and cannot, both must not and cannot be arrested in such cases. The doubt that they had was that the chartered accountant was probably working in connivance with the owner of the business. And this is something which could not be proven from the documentary evidence available, from the cross-questioning and cross-examination done by all the parties, from the witnesses, from the statements of the witnesses. It could never be established. It could never be established that the chartered accountant was guilty. And in such cases, then the department took a liberal view and took a correct view, I would say, is of not arresting the chartered accountant Till date, that chartered accountant doesn't know that there was someone behind the scene who tried to probably help him. And till date, I don't know whether that chartered accountant is still practicing or not. But what I know is that it was a senior gentleman, probably aged around 60, and probably with a clean record. And just because of one default of one client, if he would have been arrested, it would have caused immense trouble to that chartered accountant. It would have questioned his reputation, his integrity of all the years of practice. And eventually, it was a case of genuine hardship that a person would face for the wrongdoings which of a person who was wrongdoings of a person who was his client. Having said that, when I see these kind of cases, I always advise, and especially the younger CAs, I will very strongly advise: do not take work just for the sake of attestation. Never. It may feel it is lucrative in the short run, but you will eventually end up paying for it in the long run. Another thing which I would always advise all the viewers over here from across India who have joined today on a Friday evening and probably on a bank holiday is that whenever you're doing any form of attestation work, please make sure that you have enough documentary evidence, and make sure that you have kept your checks and balances in place. Store that data digitally, and probably, if required, store it even physically in your offices or in your files, that if at all your client goes rogue, and if at all you were subjected to what that other gentleman or senior chartered accountant was subjected to, you will have enough defense. Because, as I said even earlier during my presentation, is that the burden of proof is on the chartered accountant to prove that he is not guilty. In India, entire law functions between these two lines. Are you innocent until proven guilty, or are you guilty until proven innocent? And between these two lines is the entire legal framework of this country. And it is extremely sad to say that chartered accountants are always in the second category, where they are guilty until proven innocent. So, as I said, prosecution of CAs is possible in certain cases. Whenever a chartered accountant is found to be actively involved and working in connivance with criminals, in such cases, chartered accountants have been arrested in the past and even are being arrested as we speak. When we talk about criminals, who are these criminals? Who are these alleged criminals or criminals? It could be people who are running businesses. It could be people who are from the judicial side. It could be people who are from the administration. It could be people who are income tax officers or bureaucrats. It could be people who are working in various government departments. So whenever a public servant is arrested, and if it is proven beyond doubt that the money was managed by a chartered accountant, or the advice was given by a chartered accountant to harass a particular client or to extort some amount of money, in that case, CAs have been arrested in the past. But as I said, a few CAs don't make up a whole. A few CAs. कई बार ऐसे हिंदी में कहा जाता है that जब आप गेहूं को छानते हो तो उसमें कुछ कंकर भी निकल आते हैं. Similarly, there are certain rotten apples, but rotten apple means that apple as a fruit is not good. So what you can do is you can keep the rotten apples aside and still enjoy the fruits of this profession. Am I audible? All right, yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, thank you very much. And second is the auditor's responsibility. So if you are an auditor and if you signed any document, you will be responsible for many, many, many years to come. Of course, if it is beyond the period of limitation, we may claim that, it is beyond the period of limitation under section 142 of the Income Tax of the Companies Act. We are not required to keep documentary evidence beyond a particular period of time. But in my personal opinion, I think you must try to keep the documentary evidence for as long as possible. If it is not physically stored, keep it digitally stored, but please keep it stored. Keep it on the cloud, keep it on a hard disk. Invest in a good hard disk. Take a 1 TB hard disk, 2 TB hard disk, or a 5 TB hard disk. Keep storing data. Do not let go of the data, because your data and your working papers will only help you to come out of any form of allegations being put against your clients, your companies, your promoters, directors, friends, or relatives, or against you. Also, be very cautious of people who are your clients. If you're an auditor, be very cautious of people who are borrowing money from banks. If at all you sense that they are going to default in bank loans, please give up those kind of audits. It is absolutely not recommended to do an audit of a company which is going to go bankrupt. It is absolutely not worthy of your time, effort, or even money to audit a company where the promoters are on the verge of siphoning money or who have already siphoned money. Whenever you think anything of this sort is happening, make sure that you have given appropriate disclosures everywhere in audit report, in your working papers. Take management representation letters. Make sure that your management representations state that the money that has been used is for official purposes only, for business purposes only, for legal purposes only, for legitimate purposes only. The stock is valued appropriately. Take an undertaking from them that the stock was valued by the management, and mention that in your valuation of stock, also in your audit report, that you have relied upon the representation given by the management. Some of the red flags which generally happen are in loans and advances given to associates, sister concerns, and subsidiaries or parent. Second area is stock and inventories. Third area is on the expenditure side. So make sure that you have enough documentation for all of these. Another place where an alleged fraud can possibly happen from an audit perspective is giving advances for purchase of property. So advances are given, but the document for title or the sale deed or the purchase deed is never registered because 100% of the amount is not given. If you don't give 100% of the amount, the sale deed will never be executed in favor of your company. It will always show as loans and advances, and a lot of times it is seen that on basis of such faulty titles, banks have started granting loans, assuming that they would eventually get the documents registered, and ultimately all of these people siphon off with money. So make sure that your clients are not one of those, and if they are one of them, make sure they're not your clients anymore. Yes, coming to net worth certificates, I've already discussed. CMA data and projected financials should never be signed by chartered accountants. A lot of times, clients will insist, "Hey, aap hamare auditor ho, you are my auditor. Why will you not sign?" It is categorically mentioned that chartered accountants must not attest any form of projected financials for any bank purposes or any internal purposes of the company also. Even if you prepare the CMA data, it is not your responsibility to attest it. You may prepare because as a management consultant or as an advisor, you may help a client in preparing projected financials. A lot of clients who are startups, they definitely need projected financials for valuation purposes. So my suggestion is, even if you've prepared those projected financials, you must not attest them. It's best to go to a registered valuer, get a valuation certificate from them, go to a category 1 merchant banker, get a valuation certificate from them, or go to any other registered valuer, take a certificate from them. Do not assume that liability or responsibility on yourself for valuation certificates, for CMA data, for projected financials, and for net worth certificates. Having said that, now we will move to another section about what is the process, or how does this entire flow of events happen, and what is the role of Interpol, because ultimately it will go to the Interpol. So let us understand how does the entire process flow. First and foremost, there is an inquiry or there is an FIR, either or. So when, as I mentioned, there is an inquiry when there is reasons to believe that there could have been committed a fraud, and there is an FIR when there is either a proper complaint or there is an allegation and there is enough evidence available with the department, then it is converted into an FIR. The FIR is registered under section 154 of CRPC, and inquiries under section 91, section 90 of CRPC. Sorry, section 91 of CRPC. I stand corrected. Now, once the inquiry or the notice for inquiry or the notice for investigation is sent to your clients are expected to gather documentary evidence. You are expected to prepare or gather documentary evidence, assist your client, give representations, and explain to them explain to them that how a particular transaction has transpired. Now, once that is done, for cases where arrest has happened, so on basis of an FIR, if an arrest takes place, then within 60 days, a charge sheet must be filed. Or within 90 days, a charge sheet must be filed. So now, why is it 60 or 90 days? The reason is, if the offense for which the punishment is life imprisonment or death penalty, in such cases the charge sheet must be filed within 90 days. If the offense is anything less than death penalty or life imprisonment, then charge sheet must be filed within 60 days. But for other offenses, there is no time limit prescribed under law for filing of charge sheet. That is to say, the law has been framed in such a manner that the investigation that must happen in the best possible manner without constraints of time. Till when charge sheet is not filed, a person may be arrested. If a person does not cooperate, or if the person is at a flight risk, or if the person may go absconding, or if a person is not cooperating during the course of the investigation. When a person is summoned and the person refuses to present himself or herself before the law enforcement agency, it is treated as not cooperating. When some documents have been asked for or requested and the person does not provide them, it is treated as non-cooperation. When a person who has knowledge of certain happenings but claims that he or she does not have knowledge of the factual position, in that case, it may be alleged that this is non-cooperation. And wherever there is non-cooperation, there is a chance of an arrest. Now, do the law enforcement agencies have the power to arrest? Of course, yes. Law enforcement agencies have ultra-wide powers to arrest. When you talk about the enforcement directorate, for example, the definition of money laundering under Section 3 of the Act is so wide and it is so vague that any and every person who's involved in the transaction could possibly get arrested. When you talk about corporate frauds and SFIO, if the value is high and if the investigating officer is of the opinion that the person is not cooperating, arrest can be done very easily. Again, when you talk about the DGGI, for at least under the GST law, if I'm correct, the threshold for arrest is 5 crore rupees of evasion. Similarly, even income tax department has arrested and prosecuted chartered accountants in the past, though the process for prosecution under the Income Tax Act is very rare and it happens in the rarest of the rare cases, but still prosecution of chartered accountants has happened. So once prosecution happens, there are three things that can happen after an inquiry is lodged or an FIR is lodged. Either there will be closure, which is to say there is a closure report filed, or second is that a charge sheet is filed. So either the case is closed or a charge sheet is filed. If both of these are not done, then what happens? In some cases, if it involves public servants, in that case, the departments may allege that yes, there were disproportionate assets, yes, there was money laundering, yes, there were offenses, yes, there was bribery, but in their personal view, they think departmental action is sufficient and hence they can close the complaint even at that stage, for which neither a closure report is filed nor a charge sheet is filed, but the case is closed because the department will suggest that departmental action should be taken against the concerned public servant. Now, if a person is not arrested, okay, that is to say a person is not arrested and also not charge sheeted. So if arrest is not done and also charge sheet is not done, what will happen in that interim period? What will happen in that interim period between these two dates? Lodging of the FIR till filing the charge sheet or closure of case, as the case may be. So in the interim period, government may issue a lookout circular, which is called as an LOC. The LOC primarily deals with those people who are trying to move out of the country. So whenever they go to any port or airport or any land border station, their name will flash in the system. Most of the times you may have heard of that some industrialist was trying to run away from the country and he or she got arrested at the airport, or he or she was stopped or detained at the airport. So if they're within the country, a lookout circular is issued stating that this person may not be allowed to go out of the country, and it will be informed to the agency which has issued it. So if SFIO has issued a lookout circular, whenever a person tries to go out of the country, a particular message is sent from that particular port, airport, or from the land border station to the SFIO stating that this person is wanting to go out. Should they be permitted to go out or not? So if the department permits, in spite of an LOC, a person may be allowed to travel overseas. So this is about a lookout circular which may be issued. So as going forward, all of these things, once you dive deep into the field of forensic investigations or in financial forensics, you will come across all of these procedures and all of these terms. Now, in case if a person is not already in India, and if the government does not know, or the investigating agency does not know where the person is, and you just want to know where that person is, then the department will issue a blue corner notice. A lot of times in news, we would have heard that a red corner notice is issued against XYZ bank absconder or ABC bank absconder, someone who has run to the Caribbean islands, or someone who has run away to the UK, or to someone who has run away to some other European nation. So a blue corner notice is issued in those cases where a particular department wants to know about the whereabouts of that person. So when a blue corner notice is issued by the Interpol, the process is this: the law enforcement agency will, on the merits of the case, will decide which cases have to be issued a blue corner notice. Once a blue corner notice is ready and the internal approvals have been obtained from competent authorities, the government of India sends that request to the Interpol. Interpol has its regional headquarters in Singapore. So in our case, we being an Asian country, most of our requests which go to Interpol, they go to the regional headquarters in Singapore. Interpol in return is a consortium of all countries who are signatories to the declaration, and they cooperate with each other as far as crimes and criminals are concerned. Now, Interpol will publish this record on their website. You can go on the Interpol website and you can check how many blue corner notices have been issued, against whom a blue corner notice has been issued. You can search by name, you can search by company, you can search by surname, you can search by the type of crime. So you can find there are multiple filters through which you can search for information. Now, once a blue corner notice is issued, whenever the person goes to any airport across the world, the person will be detained. His relevant information will be taken. His whereabouts will be recorded. His present location or the proposed location where the person is traveling will be taken on record. And this information will be passed on to the law enforcement agency back in India. Once this information is passed to the law enforcement agency in India, they will send a questionnaire asking for some more relevant information. In the Indian context, in most cases, it is a generic format, which is sent whenever a person is caught at any airport or is detained at any airport. A set format is sent, and the law enforcement agency in India will request for information, by which the contact number, telephone number, email ID, active email ID, the place where the person is visiting, the places where he has visited or he or she has visited, the places where they are residing, everything will be asked. In some cases, these people allegedly give wrong information. If they give wrong information, then the department has all rights and authority to convert a blue corner notice into a red corner notice, which is generally referred to as an RCN, a red corner notice. So if a person does not cooperate during a blue corner notice, the chances are that the government will recommend that it be converted and turned into a red corner notice. There is something also called as a yellow corner notice. So people are missing. Means you don't know where they are, you don't know their whereabouts, you don't know who they are, what is the actual name, what is the actual identity. So for them, the government issues something called as a yellow corner notice. And then finally, as I mentioned, there is a red corner notice, which is the highest level of notice which is issued by the Interpol, and it is common for all countries, all nations across the world who follow this particular standard operating procedure or the process. Now, in a particular red corner notice, let's think of some names of people who against whom a red corner notice would have been issued or has been issued in the past. Generally, in the news, you would have heard about them. Generally, in media channels, would have covered about them. You would have read articles in the newspapers about them. So there are these prominent persons who are actually at a risk of not being not getting back to the home country where a particular case is registered against them, or a particular offense or a crime is registered against their name. Once a red corner notice is issued, the person practically cannot move out of the country, or cannot move out of the country where he or she is presently located. Reason being, whenever they go to any other airport, port, airport, land border, or any other checkpost, they will be detained. They may be arrested by the police of appropriate jurisdiction present in that country. So if they are at the airport and a red corner notice is issued against them, they will be detained. Once they are detained, a request will be sent across to the country which has issued this notice, and they will then suggest whether they have to be arrested, whether they have to be detained, whether they should be repatriated to the home country, whether they have to be extradited, or whatever has to be done. So they will not be allowed to move from there. That is about a red corner notice. Of late, as we speak, there are many red corner notices which are issued against certain antisocial elements of our country. And again, this list is also available on the Interpol website as well as on the website of the CBI or any other law enforcement agency, where you can check against whom notices have been issued. Now, the reason for bringing out this point is, whenever a Interpol notice is issued, what should you advise your clients, and how should you coordinate and talk this out with the department? So first and foremost, make sure that there is no notice issued. But if there is a notice issued, and if you're dealing with a blue corner notice, make sure that your client is at least accessible to you and they are at least responding to your calls, emails, or anything. And whenever you have appropriate information with their consent, you may give that information about their whereabouts to the law enforcement agencies, so that a blue corner notice does not become a red corner notice. If you are cooperating with law enforcement agencies, there is no reason for any other notice to be issued after that. And if it is already issued, you can always give an application for removal of this notice. You can give this application for removal of notice to the agency which has either issued the notice, or you can directly represent your case to the Interpol directly at its global headquarters. On basis of either or, either the relevant government which has issued the notice, or the Interpol, whosoever you are representing to, if they feel that there is merit, they may remove your notice from the Interpol list. There are certain recent examples where the Indian government had issued a red corner notice against certain fugitives who are absconding from the country, and then when they made representations to the Interpol, and Interpol found merit in their case, they removed their names from the red corner list which was circulated globally. Now, apart from this, let us understand what next should we do, and how can we ultimately safeguard our rights or our reputation as chartered accountants. The first thing that I would like to say is, always conduct due diligence. Always conduct due diligence of the clients that you're taking. Second thing is, never attest anything unless it is absolutely genuine. And third thing, and very important point, I will just touch upon it, is unity among chartered accountants. Have you ever heard that a particular lawyer of a particular criminal ever got arrested because he or she gave some illegal advice to his or her client? Never have I heard, at least. Probably there are but I've never heard of any. But many a times I've heard that chartered accountants are arrested for giving advice which could lead to potential crime or an alleged fraud. So first and foremost, when it comes to arrest of chartered accountants, I think ICAI should and probably is already taking enough steps to make sure that they strengthen their position with law enforcement agencies, with various ministries, as far as arrest of chartered accountants are concerned. Second thing, whenever we discuss anything with our clients, we must term it and give a disclaimer that this is privileged communication. Privileged communication means that it is something which is very personal and private between the client and the chartered accountant, and it is not for public use. So even if there is any communication, WhatsApp communication, or if there is any email correspondence or anything, make sure that appropriate disclaimers are given that the conversation that you're having is either a privileged conversation or it is a privileged communication. Third thing, as far as chartered accountants are concerned, and as far as our mother body ICAI is concerned, if we make enough representations at multiple levels, believe me, no chartered accountant will get arrested for these kind of unscrupulous issues. And finally, my suggestion to all of you all is that if you want to get into the forensic side, it is an interesting side. Even as Sameer Chaudhary mentioned just before this session, before my session, that over the next 4 to 5 years, the potential for forensic accounting and for fraud investigations, financial fraud investigations, is only going to increase. If time permits, and if you are interested, please do at least the FAFD course of ICAI. It will definitely give you some insights into what forensic accounting and fraud detection is. If you still want to go further, go for CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner examination. It is an internationally recognized degree, and you can probably work for your international clients. You can also work with other law enforcement agencies of other countries. In India, we have a premier institute called as a National Forensic Sciences University in Gandhinagar in Gujarat, which is one of the best and one of the leading universities for forensic sciences. They have ICAI, if I'm correct, ICAI also has a collaboration with NFSU. Earlier, it was called Gujarat Forensic Sciences University. Now it's called NFSU, National Forensic Sciences University. They have multiple, ICAI and NFSU have done multiple collaborations. So please try to take maximum benefit of it. I'm not aware about it, so please don't ask me what is the collaboration that they've done, but there is some level of collaboration that has happened, which I'm aware of. Now, with this, I come to an end of my session. So let us stay connected. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. You can reach out to me. I'm most accessible on my email. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. My link is given on the screen as you see, and I'll be happy to take questions. So over to you, to the moderator for this panel discussion.
Yes, sir, there are many questions. Yeah, the first question is, view is from Chennai. View is that while recording statements are given before authorities, CS don't act as witness, as his presence would be recorded. This would jeopardize the defense available to CS. Sir, your views?
Correct. Absolutely correct, sir. The point is that when you go with your client to record a statement, you are not summoned as a witness. As long as summons have not been served upon the chartered accountant, you may not be called upon as a witness. And if you go over there, make sure that you have a letter of authority stating that you are only representing the client. Without an authority letter, if you go and if they were to make you a witness, then you would be in trouble. So my honest suggestion and genuine suggestion to each one of you over here from across India is that make sure that you have a letter of authority on a non-judicial stamp paper of an appropriate amount, depending on the state where you are located. In Maharashtra, it is 500 rupees.
Next question is from CA Jaswinder Singh. Should CA sign projected balance sheet?
Sorry?
Should CA sign projected balance sheet?
No. Even according to multiple clarifications issued by ICAI, chartered accountants are not allowed to attest projected balance sheets. Even if you go to see, there is no provision on the UDIN portal where there is a category selected where you can say projected financials and then you sign that. So projected balance sheets must not be signed by any chartered accountant. I am absolutely clear about it. And many chartered accountants that I know who got arrested in bank fraud cases were only and only because they had signed some projected balance sheet at some point of time in their life.
Sir, if I'm not wrong, it is against our professional ethics also, na?
Yes,
To
yes,
sign a
we cannot.
projected balance sheet.
We cannot.
Yeah. The next question is from Ramamurthy Swaminath. When we have to do due diligence on the proposed investment into Indian company by foreign investor, we have to conduct global law enforcement authorities. What is the best approach in such situation, as we have to advise the client about the factual status of the proposed investor?
I think from our perspective, again, we can only give our true and fair view. So if the view is that it is not legitimate, then we must give that view and we must inform only our client. Our duty is to inform our client. Our duty is not to go informing all other global law enforcement agencies. So make sure for this, there are 2 points which I would like to highlight, and it's a very good point which was raised by the chartered accountant. First, make sure that you have a letter of appointment and an engagement letter. And second, make sure that when you have an acceptance letter, in response to the letter of engagement or appointment letter, there is a limitation of scope, and there is a disclaimer. So make sure that these 2 documents are executed. First is the appointment and engagement letter, and the second is the limitation of scope and acceptance letter.
So next question is from Anjali Gupta from Delhi.
Yes.
In loan, bank even ask for attestation of ITR, which is self-filed. What we should do as a CA?
Firstly, as chartered accountants, ICI has categorically told us that we must not attest anything that has not been done by us. So if it is a self-filed ITR, it cannot be attested by us unless you have actually recorded everything, you have investigated into everything, or you have verified everything. I won't say investigated, you have verified everything. So attestation of ITRs is also not possible. However, in certain cases, ICI has allowed this is when you are submitting your ITR documents for visa purposes to foreign embassies and consulates. That one particular category is also available on the UDIN portal, because for foreign travel, the embassies and consulates want to know whether the person is financially capable to undertake the travel or not. Let's take hypothetically a person is traveling to US, UK, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. These are some of the embassies which ask for attested and signed balance sheets, signed ITR copies by chartered accountants. So with a very limited scope, if it is being submitted only and only for that purpose, it is fine. But beyond that, I think we are not allowed to sign ITRs. Unless we have verified everything and unless we have verified the genuineness of the ITR, we cannot. If you have done, let's say you have done an audit and you filed the ITR, and then if you're only attesting the ITR on basis of the audit that you have done, then I think to some extent it should be fine, because you've anyways done the audit. So if there is no difference between the audited figures and the returned figures in the ITR, then I think it should be fine. But apart from that, I don't think it is appropriate for us to sign any ITR. And if anyone walks into your office, be very confident and say, no, we cannot do this. We are not permitted by law to do this. If there is someone else who wants to do it, please let him or her do it. But my genuine suggestion and opinion to each one of you all listening to me today is that please do not do this. You may jeopardize not only your degree, but you may jeopardize your reputation if you get arrested in future.
Next question is from Chandra Dev Bhatt. It's about the Hindenburg report published in Feb 2023 related to Adani case, with data that accounting fraud and stock manipulation done, which is the first biggest in history of India and world. But no charge sheet, no arrest, no action from the appropriate department happened.
Correct.
What could have been done by appropriate authority after publishing of the report?
Correct. So first and foremost, I am not any law enforcement authority, so I cannot comment on what they could or should do. But what I can say is that probably, so SEBI did investigate into the allegations leveled by Hindenburg Research. Hindenburg Research is not even a registered entity in India. If they really wanted to do something massive, they could have registered themselves in India. But they are probably one of those who shoot and scoot. मतलब उनका काम है. It is their job. They are a short seller. They are a global short seller, and this is what they do for a living. But anyways, whether the allegations were true or not, SEBI has conducted its investigation, and the SEBI chairperson also mentioned that SEBI has submitted its report to Ministry of Finance. Now, what is there in the SEBI's investigation report, we are not aware of, so we cannot comment on that. But if the allegations are found to be true, they must be investigated, and whether round tripping of funds was done or not, whether multiple entities were used for transferring money from one country to another country, from one account to another account or not, or whatever are the allegations that they have leveled in a 700-page report, they must be investigated by an appropriate law enforcement authority. Ideally, they should. Whether they do or they don't, that is totally their prerogative and their perspective, and I cannot make any comment on that.
Next question is from Niranjan. Can a CA represent in civil or criminal court on false allegations their clients, associate or family, etc., without having LLB qualification? Or
No,
at least
firstly,
attend defend cases?
yeah. So now I will break up this question in two parts. First part is, can CA represent in courts? The answer to that is no. Because in order to represent in courts, you must have something called as a sanad. Sanad is like your certificate of practice for lawyers. If you are a practicing chartered accountant, you cannot have a sanad, or you cannot have a certificate of practice for lawyers. And without a certificate of practice for lawyers, you cannot go and represent in courts. So the answer to that is twofold. First, as a practicing chartered accountant, you're not allowed to have dual degrees and practice two professions. I don't know what is the logic for it, but this is what it is. In other countries, it is allowed. In other countries, a doctor can also be a lawyer who's practicing in law medicine, who's practicing in the field of medical legal. In other countries, you can also have people who are accountants or chartered accountants of their respective jurisdictions who are also practicing law, and they're practicing in the field of financial laws or financial crimes. But somehow in India, this concept does not get digested with the people who have framed the law. So in India, you cannot practice two professions at the same time. So that is to say, you cannot be a CA plus lawyer at the same time. You may have a qualification, but you cannot practice both of them at the same time. So if you're asking in the capacity as chartered accountant, the answer is no. If you have the qualification as a lawyer, yes, you can. If you have the certificate of practice as a lawyer as well, or it is called as sanad, or the certificate of practice, or bar council membership, basically.
Answer an additional question to it. Like,
Yeah.
which a job we can do as a practice of lawyer? Not having the
So-
COP of CA.
No, so if you have, that's what, if you do not have a COP, you can. If you don't have a CA COP, in that case, you can practice as a lawyer. You can always maintain your membership number. You're allowed to maintain your membership number, but you cannot practice two professions at a time. I don't know why is it so, but this is the case in India. But in other countries, they're very open about it. Doctor can be a lawyer also, and a lawyer can be a doctor also.
The next question is from Ram Samaria. We could sign the provision. I think it's a repeat question.
All right.
The next question is, how can a CA challenge the investigating authority that IA has not done complete work or there is a gross negligence on IA part?
Gross negligence on the CS part?
Investigating authority part.
Okay. So first and foremost, when you talk about proving yourself that you are innocent, means that department has a reason to believe that you are guilty. If the department has a reason to believe you are guilty, then only you will have to prove your innocence. Otherwise, how would you go around proving your innocence? Now this is a tricky question. If the department thinks that the chartered accountant has done something in connivance with with a particular criminal or an alleged criminal, then in that case you will have to prove you will have to show your documentary evidence. You will have to prove that you have not done anything wrong. You will also have to prove what was your role in that case. At times, even if you are not a signatory to the balance sheet, but an advisor to the company, in that case also can the department allege that a fraud may have been committed, or there was common intention, or there was misrepresentation or fraud in such cases of under various sections of CRPC. In order to challenge any law enforcement agency, if that can only happen if they have taken some action against you, whether they have summoned you, whether they have filed an FIR against you. Once that has happened, the way to challenge that is you have to take an anticipatory bail. If the honorable courts believe that an anticipatory bail must be granted, then you will get protection from arrest. But other than that, there is no way you can challenge that there was gross negligence on part of the law enforcement agency. If you have been summoned, if an FIR has been initiated, lodged against you, or if an inquiry has been initiated against you, the best thing that a chartered accountant can do is go in the court and file for an anticipatory bail. in order to prevent any form of arrest.
Any other questions? Yeah, this was the last question. Else, the attendees are asking for your contact and email address.
Yeah,
For future
my email
reference.
address is on the screen. I'm most accessible on email. So it's best if you can reach out to me on email or on social media. I'm very active on LinkedIn only, no, not other social media channels. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. What you see is the picture of my LinkedIn profile, and what you again see is the link given, which you will probably have to type because you cannot click on this link because I'm sharing my screen. But you can probably take a screenshot of this and you can get in touch with me. And one more request to all of you all, one more request to all the participants and all the listeners till now. If you really like what we've discussed in today's presentation, please go on LinkedIn and give a recommendation, write a recommendation for me. It helps in increasing visibility. And that's the only way we as chartered accountants can officially be more visible on social media, considering that we have a code of ethics that we have to follow. And there are various restrictions as far as marketing and other services are concerned. So please write a recommendation. It really goes a long way. And I will be really thankful to you if you write a recommendation on LinkedIn or go on Google, search for CA Vivek Shah and give a 5-star rating if you like my presentation today. So these are 2 action points for you. 1, write a recommendation on LinkedIn, and 2, give a 5-star rating on Google Maps.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really great session.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.